Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 141 to 160. Chapter 141 Conflict. Illegal immigrants, stop. The man's low voice came from behind the three of them. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Serena's chef maid turned her head in surprise, but the strange thing was that she didn't see anything. Where's the person? The maid looked strange. When Vlad separated from them before, he did say that some guys would come to trouble them, so I was not surprised when I heard that someone wanted to punish them in the first day, but now I turned my head and was really surprised. Now, I heard someone's voice but couldn't find anyone. What's the situation? Sinners, accept my punishment for waiting for the Sky Island Special Police Force, White Berets. A man suddenly stood up from the ground. Until this time, the three chefs finally saw these guys who claimed to be White Berets, genuine White Berets, and a white beret on their hands. The three of the Fire Dragon pirates finally knew why they could hear the sound before, but when they turned around, they couldn't see anyone. Why are they lying on the ground? Serena tilted her head curiously. Perhaps, it's the custom of Sky Island. The chef replied hesitantly, no matter how you look at these guys, they are a little abnormal. Sky Island police units named White Berets are all lying on the ground, and the white uniforms perfectly match the white ground of Angel Island. At first glance, it is really not easy to find these guys. The guy at the head was different from the other berets. He was wearing a white cloak and was a serious middle-aged man. Go directly to Sky Island without paying the entry fee. The 4 blue sea people who entered this kingdom of gods are you. The man at the head had a serious expression. Saying so, behind him was a group of berets who had already stood up, standing behind him expressionlessly. The streets where people came and went were instantly emptied, and the residents of Angel Island who came and went dispersed instantly, keeping a distance from the 3 chefs and the White Berets, watching from a distance. 4. Chef smiled and said, then you must have found the wrong person. We are only 3 of us. The head of the beret was a little stunned, and then ordered 3 of Serena's chef and maids in turn. It was indeed 3 people. How come, only 3 people? This man is a little confused. Where's one more person? Of course, this man will not be so easily deceived by the chef's words. They have photos of the Fire Dragon pirates in their hands. As early as when they passed through the gate of heaven, the appearance of Vlad and the others had already passed through the image. They was transmitted to the Holy Land in the sky, and even the lady maid who was in the cabin at that time had a silhouette. This beret isn't blind either. These wingless guys are really conspicuous in the middle of a group of Sky Islanders who all have wings. However, the problem now is that there are obviously 4 intruders, but now only 3 people have been found, which makes the beret a little troubled. The priests don't care much about the intruders, so these things will leave it to a police force like yourself to solve it, but the priests don't like subordinates who can't complete their tasks properly. Priests, they were never easy people to get along with. Intruders, where did you have another accomplice? Was a bit of anxiety in the tone of the head of the beret. Find him quickly. No one can avoid God's punishment. Is this the one the captain said came back to trouble us? The chef said so, and the eyes of the berets did not fluctuate. So weak. The maid of observation hockey, who has already seen the first results, said with a cigarette and dangling eyes, it's all weak and incompetent guys. Yes, come. The musician lady, who was huddled behind the maid chef, poked her head out cautiously. Are you here to catch us? Relax, Miss Serena, there will be no problem with us. The chef smiled, a smile that would make people feel extremely warm. As long as you are with me and baby 5, there will be no problem. Yeah, Mr. Dino is so reliable. Serena called out the chef's real name, who hadn't appeared in a long time. Didn't you hear me? The head of the beret was a little annoyed. If the task was not completed properly, the priests would not let him go. Where is your other companion? Answer me. Or, do you think that the 3 of you can compete with the special police force of our Sky Island and our White Berets? Bang! The expression of the head of the beret was directly twisted into a ball, and the severe pain quickly spread from the stomach to the whole body, and a huge force instantly applied to him. Whoosh! Bang! The head of the beret flew out from a distance and slammed into a small stall not far away. Where does all this nonsense come from? Isn't it very clear what you want to say with your fists? The maid's face was full of impatience. She withdrew the slender right leg she kicked out, flicked the ash with her right hand, and said, "If you want to be our enemy, just let the horse come over. You think, stand on your side. Who is in front of you?" The woman dressed as a maid was holding a cigarette, and her expression was extremely rebellious. "It's always you who need to think carefully. Can you really bear the cost of being our enemy? Hey, is this going to start directly?" The chef scratched his head in embarrassment. "Obviously you don't need to fight. Why are you so irritable?" "Miss Baby 5. Serena looked at Baby5 with shining eyes. "Super handsome." Team captain was. A captain with a beret looked at the captain, who fell to the ground and twitched and exclaimed, "That woman." More people looked at the maid's eyes with extreme anger, to take the captain. It has to be said that the beret leader still has a high reputation among his subordinates. At least these guys are very angry about him being attacked. "Kill them. Take your life, intruder." The berets raised their longbows, and the peculiar arrows replaced by sharp shells were already attached to the longbows. Do you want to fight?" Serena retracted her partner's back, a little scared. "Come on, Serena." The maid lowered her head and lit a cigarette, blew a smoke ring gently, turned back and said with a chuckle, "Go and deal with them." Serena was a little confused. "Yes, what Baby5 said makes a lot of sense." Chef nodded and smiled. "Now is the time to test your abilities, Miss Serena." "No, don't you." Serena couldn't help but shrank back. Although she became a capable person, in essence, this woman is still the eldest lady who has never experienced combat. "I can't do it." "Yes." Chef smiled and said, "With us, you don't have to be afraid of being hurt. You can use your abilities to your heart's content." Serena hesitated. Chapter 142 Resonance. Enel is very strong. There is no doubt about it. Even Vlad will admit it. Really, I am afraid that the chef under his command will not be able to defeat the god of Sky Island. Guro Guro no mi, rumble rumble, the power brought by fruit, is really too difficult to deal with. But that's all there is to it. It's impossible for Enel to get the waves out of Vlad's hands. Hockey is the most powerful force. It's true that thunder is strong, but armament hockey is enough. With a strong armor, it might not be easy for Enel to hurt Vlad. 0. Vlad stood crooked, the last count in his mouth had blurted out, and there was a smile at the corner of his mouth. "Yeah, haha." Enel put his arms around his chest and said with interest, "What are you going to do?" Scoff. With the final 0 blurted out, Vlad instantly disappeared in place. "What?" Enel's pupils widened suddenly, although he didn't pay much attention to Vlad, but in the world, Enel, the man who easily solved his own magic team, still locked Vlad with the ability of the heart network throughout the whole process, as soon as he revealed his intention to attack, Enel could react at any time. However, beyond Enel's expectations, the invincible heart net was unsuccessful this time. He could have predicted that Vlad's attack was indeed aimed at his face, just like it's exactly what Vlad himself said before, no different. However, the problem is, Vlad's speed is too fast. Enel can't even react. Guro Guro no mi, rumble rumble, fruit can't strengthen his own reaction speed no matter how strong. This is a personal physique difference. But it doesn't matter. Enel doesn't matter either. He is the invincible Logia fruit power user, and no one can hurt him in the incarnation of lightning. The elementalization of Logia does not require the active use of those who are capable. They themselves are the incarnation of that kind of natural phenomenon, such as Enel, whose body is originally the aggregation of lightning, so ordinary attacks are like hitting lightning. He couldn't be reached without Hockey's attack. Enel sneered in his heart. Meaningless, The opponent's attack was completely meaningless, even if it was almost to the point where he couldn't dodge, but he didn't have to dodge in the first place. How could Thor be hit by a mortal? Vlad is very aware of Enel's thoughts. Logia-capable people who have not been baptized by hockey generally think this way. They feel that they can be invincible just by virtue of their elemental bodies. In fact, if they reach the new world, they will die the fastest as them. So, today he will teach Enel a good lesson. Bang! Kara. Completely beyond Enel's expectations, the pitch-black fist that had been hardened by armament hockey slammed into his face, and the majestic power exploded instantly. Vlad could easily sense Enel's shattering face bones. This kind of power is not something this man can bear. Whoosh! He didn't even have time to think, he didn't even have the time to scream. Enel's face twisted into a ball, and he broke the air directly. Vlad's punch sent the man flying, and the speed was even in the air. There was a high-pitched explosion. Boom! Enel flew out far away, slid across a parabola like a howitzer, and smashed directly into the shrine where he lived. The huge impact directly destroyed the house in that piece. Well, it should be about the same, right? Vlad said to himself, it should have just fallen on it. Vlad stepped gently and walked slowly towards the shrine. He was very curious, did he punch Enel directly on the shrine? Really looking forward to it. The shrine is very big. If you enter here for the first time and there is no one to lead the way, you will easily get lost, but such people do not include observation hockey masters like Vlad, who have firmly locked Enel. Vlad of the breath certainly won't get lost. Bang! The wall shattered violently, and Vlad didn't bother to take a detour, so he just walked in a straight line. Didn't it fall on the collapse? Vlad looked very disappointed. Enel was lying on the ground in front of the god couch. He didn't expect that he would not succeed. This is really annoying. Hey, boy. Vlad looked down at Enel who was lying on the ground with blood on the corner of his mouth and said with dissatisfaction, isn't it a good thing to lie on the ground and let Lao Tzu's prophecy come true? Cough, vomit. Enel coughed violently, his brain was chaotic, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. This was a pain that he hadn't experienced in a long time, but the pain in his body was far less than the pain in his heart. Why? Can you, cough, met me? No wonder that this man who has never been to Sky Island in his life can't understand what hockey is. Of course because I am. Vlad smiled. Godslayer. Dash 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 dash. Music, very beautiful sound of music. The beautiful music is blowing in the wind. On the streets of Angel Island, a woman named Serena is playing with a violin on her shoulders, and the wonderful music really happens here. Very sad music. This is a very sad music. The name of this piece is The Fall of the Kingdom. It is a piece of music composed with reference to the destruction of a certain kingdom in North Blue. The whole piece of music reveals that the ultimate despair and sadness is the despair of the kingdom's destruction but powerless. It is indeed a piece of extremely sad music. Wow 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 wow. Quote. The man with the beret lay on the ground and cried, tears flowing like a waterfall, and the eyes that had been crying a little red and swollen were filled with extreme sadness. Why? Why is this song so sad? I want to cry, I can't resist such sadness at all. Wow 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 baby. Why? His colleagues also lay on the ground and cried, why is there such a tune? Why? Are such tunes really being played by humans? Woo. Whoa whoa whoa. While weeping, everyone was crying, without exception, all the berets were lying on the ground crying, dozens of big men lying on the ground crying. This is indeed a rare spectacle. Also very sad is Serena. Although this woman did not cry, her delicate little face was also frowning, and there was a deep sadness in her brows. Ah, what a powerful ability. With a cigarette in her mouth, the maid said with great interest, Resonance fruit. Chapter 143 God's Pride. The resonance fruit is the name of the devil fruit that Miss Serena ate. It is one of the 2 devil fruits that Vlad had left before. I have to say that this is indeed very suitable for Miss Serena's ability. Rad knew that the ability this woman had acquired was such an idea that she had to have in her heart at this time. X23 US. Com updates fastest. It's so strange, why is this group of people so lucky? You can find a zone mythical dragon fruit by yourself, a chef can eat an oily fruit that suits him, and now Miss Musician can get a resonance fruit that is also suitable for her. It's really nothing. Is the guy arranging it behind the scenes? Vlad shuddered. The resonance fruit is one of the fruits in the Paramesha column, and it gave Serena the ability called resonance. As the name suggests, it is the ability to resonate with the user. It is indeed a very powerful fruit. The stronger the emotion, the more it can resonate with others. The hotter the heart, the more infectious it is. This kind of ability is really suitable for the ability of Miss Serena. Serena is an extremely outstanding musician. Miss can naturally substitute the emotions that the composer wants to express when playing music, and her ability to match her most scorching emotions is absolutely unfavorable. Although it is not a direct combat ability, although it cannot cause huge damage to the enemy, although a guy with strong willpower can endure such emotional resonance, there is no doubt that this is already extremely a powerful ability. At least, Vlad is very satisfied. Well, it is indeed a very powerful ability, said the chef. Huh, are you crying? The maid said in amazement. Serena didn't use her abilities on you, right? What are you crying for? The chef's eyes were wet, and he smiled. It's nothing, I just think that Miss Serena's music is really good. Even if you don't have the ability, it's a wonderful music that can easily move people's hearts. It is indeed the best in the world. One of the musicians. No wonder the captain wanted her on board anyway. Really? Maid smiled, perhaps. The chef did not speak. You, woo woo woo, you wait, Beret was crying loudly, while saying cruel words. God, gossip, no way, woo woo woo, let you go. Serena frowned, and the hand that played the piano suddenly accelerated. Woo. So these guys never got a chance to speak. Fire Dragon Pirates and the White Berets of the Sky Island Special Police Force ended dramatically. The Fire Dragon Pirates won a crushing victory, and the opponent was powerless to fight back. Godslayer. Yeah ha ha ha. Enel, who had spent all his strength just standing up, laughed loudly. Although there was a bit of guilt in his eyes, there was no doubt that this man was not afraid of Vlad. Yes, Godslayer. Enel said, your power is indeed enough to be called a Godslayer. I am afraid that such power can really kill a god. Oh. Vlad said with interest, are you just admitting defeat? As a god, are you going to admit defeat at the hands of me, a god killer? Yaha, yes, you are powerful enough to kill gods. Enel squeezed his chin, and the crackling sound was clearly visible. Vlad's punch just now caused him a lot of damage, and the bones on his face were broken a lot, but this also happened to show the world's these guys' monster constitution. It's okay to break into several pieces, and it can grow back after drinking some milk. Even my all-knowing and almighty God was almost killed by you. Enel said with a lingering fear. Hey, did you still not admit defeat? Vlad looked troubled. You're almost unable to stand up. Do you want to continue fighting? Yeah haha. What nonsense are you talking about? Blue Sea people. Enel smiled. What do you think I am like as a god? Oh. Vlad smiled. God is invincible. Enel said this very seriously. Hey, isn't it? God is invincible. Vlad smiled like this. So what's the situation with your broken head? Although I don't know what ability you have, you can actually attack me as the incarnation of Thunderbolt, but it doesn't matter. Enel said, even if you can attack me, it doesn't matter. If the gods only rely on the body that cannot be hurt, I am a god who has failed too much. Really? Vlad is a little surprised. This Enel is very different from the Enel in the comics he saw in his previous life. At least his aura is much stronger. Even if he has been severely hit, he is still full of himself. If you gain confidence, this is interesting. You must know that Enel in the comics in the previous life almost cried because he saw Luffy restraining the lightning. So, what are you going to do? Vlad said so. Yeah, ha ha ha. Just look at me, blasphemous. God Enel, the power that roars in the sky. Enel raised his hands high, and suddenly turned into a thunder light, which instantly penetrated the roof, and the man who claimed to be a god turned into a thunder and flew out of the shrine. Cut. Vlad was stunned. Did he just run away? Well, are you waiting for me outside? Vlad smiled, and the keen observation Haki had noticed the man, and it seemed that he didn't mean to run away. What a proud man. Vlad grinned. Isho, the fiery red scales began to grow on his body, and his body began to rise. All right, this kind of guy can't be taken lightly, let me have fun. Boom. The flames soared into the sky, and the huge dragon man walked out of the flames. I thought you would run away. Escape. Yeah, ha ha ha. Enel wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed loudly. Who do you think I am? I am an omniscient and almighty god. As a god, it is too delusional to expect me to escape. But you, with such a posture, are Zone's abilities. Enel asked. Hey, Zone. Vlad smiled. I've never heard of Zone's ability to manipulate flames. Enel really hasn't seen Mythical. Because I am a dragon, a fire dragon. Vlad replied. Fire dragon. A fire dragon capable of manipulating flames. Enel was startled. Yeah, ha ha ha, wouldn't that be too funny? Enel laughed loudly. Isn't this a fateful confrontation between the dragon who manipulates flames and the god incarnated by thunder? So saying. Vlad's eyes lit up. Isn't he super handsome? So. Enel smiled. Let's have a good fight. God's punishment. Enel's right wrist instantly turned into lightning, and a huge pillar of lightning slammed towards Vlad. Chapter 144 Zurong. God's punishment. Enel roared. The terrifying thunder was only aroused in an instant. His right wrist turned into a huge column of thunder and blasted directly at Vlad. The speed was so fast there is no chance of a reaction. X23 US. Com updates fastest. God's sanction can be said to be Enel's most commonly used trick. You can see from the name of the trick. This is usually a trick used to punish guys who violate God's orders. Turning your wrist into a thunderbolt and throwing it out, you can go very far. The distance attack, combined with Enel, can cover the whole island and can hear the conversation of everyone on the Sky Island. This trick can achieve the ability to strike any target on the Sky Island at any time, a real God's sanction. The speed of thunder and lightning is so fast that it is difficult for people to react. I am afraid that no one can escape such an attack. Just like the light of Kizaru, it is an enviable fruit ability with a high starting point. But this does not mean that it is impossible to fight against Enel. The existence of observation Haki undoubtedly makes it extra easy for Vlad to avoid such an attack. Although the lightning speed makes it difficult to avoid, in the end, Enel's attack is a sign yes, with observation Haki it's not that hard for Vlad to dodge. But Vlad did not hide, he chose to resist Enel's attack hard. Crackling. The huge lightning beam directly hit Vlad, and the dazzling light instantly enveloped the surrounding area, and the jumping electric light shot continuously. In just a short moment, the surrounding ground was already scorched black. What? Enel didn't feel the joy of hitting his opponent at all. The same keen net of heart has been locked on Vlad, so he has noticed that his enemy has no intention of evading his attack, just standing still, waiting for the attack to hit him. Is it so arrogant? Enel gritted his teeth. Crack. The dark arm stretched out from the shining light, the electric light suddenly dissipated, and Vlad's body appeared in front of Enel. This. Enel's face turned pale. Why doesn't it work? Vlad's body is pitch black. Of course, he was not scorched black by lightning, but Armament Haki's whole body is hardened. Armament Haki is equivalent to a layer of invisible armor. In addition to enhancing attack power, the more obvious effect is the increase of defense power. Enel's lightning is an irresistible natural disaster for ordinary people, but for hockey masters, as long as the attack cannot penetrate this armor, it is scratching. It seems that the power of the gods is nothing but that. Vlad slowly released Hockey, with a smile on Hockey's face. It seems that I can't help this dragon. As the one just now also your ability. Enel smiled slowly. Although the attack didn't work, this man was able to quickly stabilize his mentality, which was different from the arrogant god in the comics that Vlad read in his previous life. The title of Demon Dragon is it appropriate to be able to turn into a black dragon. As expected of the enemy of my god. Enel is laughing. Really? Vlad was impressed by this man again. It seems that he can't use the Enel from the comics he read in his previous life to compare with this god. Sure enough, comics are different from real people. Vlad is firm again. This belief. Then do you want to continue? Vlad smiled. Boom. Enel didn't answer Vlad's meaning directly. The going stick in his hand tapped on the going drums on both sides of his back, and he said, although I don't know what your ability to turn black looks like, there is no doubt about it. It's a defensive ability, right? Although it's not obvious, I still noticed some BB's charred black on your pants. That is to say, there is a limit to this kind of defense, right? So, what I have to do is to continuously increase the output, and then directly. Enel had an excited smile on his face. Kill you. 60 million volt Troy Dragon. The dragon composed of thunder and lightning appeared from Enel's body, roaring silently with its big mouth open. The electric light on the slender body kept beating, and the incomparably terrifying power was contained in it. Woo! It was clearly just a long dragon made of thunder and lightning, but it seemed to be emitting a breathtaking long groan, and an astonishing cold light seemed to flicker in the blurred dragon's eyes. Just come and pick it up. Enel laughed. Dragon. Scoff. With an almost inaudible sound, the huge thunder dragon roared towards Vlad. The air was a little distorted, and the super strong lightning also carried an amazingly high temperature. There is no doubt that this kind of trick is a powerful attack that is enough to wipe out the spirit of human resistance. Oh, he's so handsome. Vlad smiled. Logia's devil fruit is really good, and the attacks are very cool. Well, but I'm not bad. Vlad stretched out his right hand, spread his fingers, and the white gold flame quickly covered his right palm. Burn out. Without any fancy ingredients, a huge amount of flames spewed out from Vlad's body. The flames were extremely condensed, and the flames like columns of fire blasted straight towards Thunder Dragon. Boom. The air waves spread, and the huge explosion shook the ground. The storm generated by the explosion alone made Enel feel untenable. Yeah, ha ha ha. Attack came back in vain, but Enel was smiling. He said, you didn't resist the Thunder Dragon's attack hard. Does this mean that you can't completely defend against such an attack? Does it mean that could it hurt you? Vlad smiled. Who knows? Try it yourself. Then try it. Enel's expression changed suddenly, and an extremely wanton demeanor emerged. Dragon, let me show you this majestic, godlike gesture. 2 million volts Thor. The terrifying thunder light exploded directly, and a strong smell of sulfur spread in the air instantly. Ah! Vlad covered his eyes with his hands, a little uncomfortable. It was too shiny and his eyes were a little uncomfortable. Whoa! The thunder light suddenly closed, the strong light finally disappeared. Vlad moved his hand, and finally saw the huge figure. The majestic body is extremely tall, and the blue and white body is constantly jumping with thunder and lightning, and the terrifying power can be easily seen even without touching it. Thor. Vlad smiled. What a good trick. That's my strongest trick. Enel's voice was loud. Tremble before the majesty of the gods, Arlong. Ah ha ha ha, so confident, God. Vlad laughed. Does that make you so confident? Well, let me show you the power that I have never used before. It will make you despair directly. Vlad laughed wildly. Flames soared into the sky. Flames emerged from every scale of Vlad. The white gold flame was a little sticky, and then the flames began to converge towards Vlad's body. Yanwei Wushan Zhurong. Chapter 145 Going Bell. Who? Named Enel slumped to the ground with a terrified expression, gasping for breath. The surrounding environment has undergone tremendous changes. It has long lost its previous appearance. Instead of opening a few holes, there are a few more large pits. The surrounding land has melted, and the shrine where Enel lived has been completely destroyed. Not even a broken brick or tile was left, only a piece of nothingness remained. Is this your true power? Enel was panting heavily, his body charred black, lying on his back on the ground. His tone was deep confusion and disbelief. Impossible. Is such a power really something that humans can possess? Enel's face was grim, and Vlad's eyes were bloodshot. The body is surrounded by flames, the guy like the god of fire, the random punching brings the fission like a natural disaster, the terrifying power can easily completely defeat the tricks he is most proud of. How hopelessly powerful. Real power. Vlad didn't seem to have changed, and laughed. Who knows? Is this my full strength? I'm really curious. Have I failed as a god? Enel's face was blank. It was different from being defeated by Luffy in the comics. The helplessness of facing his helpless rubber man and the defeat of a powerful opponent with overwhelming terrifying combat power were two completely different feelings. What are you kidding? Can I fail even as a god? Enel muttered to himself, and then his expression suddenly changed. It was an extremely angry expression, and the blue veins burst out on his forehead. God, Enel is invincible. It seems that I still overestimate you. Vlad said with some regret. Is it so unacceptable to my failure? Enel, as a crew member, is not brave enough. It doesn't matter how many times the guy named Enel loses. Enel swayed and raised his right hand with a firm tone. But, as a god alone, I can never lose. If the gods are also defeated, then I discharge. A not-so-strong current bloomed from Enel's hands, like small snakes swept toward Vlad. Crackling. Vlad didn't even turn on hockey. With his sturdy dragon scales alone, he had already resisted Enel's last discharge. Enel, who was already on the verge of desperation in terms of physical strength and energy, was now even causing damage to Vlad. Can't do it. Hey, what a rude fellow. Vlad smiled, not taking it seriously, but rather happy. Have you forgotten who saved your life? Is this how God treats his benefactor? Leave me alive. Bastard, who do you think you're fighting? Enel was furious. I am a god, do I still need your mercy? If not. Vlad said, you won't have the opportunity to speak out in front of me like you have now. You have already been burned to ashes by me. Aren't you afraid of death? Dead. Yeah, ha. Enel laughed. Even a god can't escape the result of Ragnarok, so what about death? As a god, it doesn't matter whether it is life or death, because only gods are eternal. Through life and death. Bang. Vlad punched Enel in the stomach, and the man, who had been badly injured, fainted and lost consciousness. Crazy, does this guy really think of himself as a god? Vlad murmured to himself, this Enel is obviously not the same style as the Enel in the comics he read in his previous life. It's not the way a normal person would think. However, it's still qualified. Vlad smiled. Hey, do you guys have any ideas? Vlad turned his head to look at the four small trash fish who had been hiding and watching for a long time, and said softly. No, my lord, please don't misunderstand. The four guys who came were none other than the four priests to which god Enel belonged. These guys were shocked by the aftermath of the fierce battle that took place at the shrine, and had been running over to watch for a while. We dare not have the slightest malice, we. Of the invincible Enel by Vlad, these guys were so frightened that they couldn't even think of resisting. As I said before, not everyone has the guts to go farther than themselves. The strong guy throws his fist, this guy has no such courage. Okay, who cares about you? Hey, give me a good look at this guy. Vlad said, take a good look at Enel, don't let him run away, I have something to leave for a while, if Enel is gone by the time I come back. Hey! Vlad laughed twice, and the 4 priests were so frightened that they answered again and again. Yes, yes, my lord, we must take good care of the gods. No, Enel, we will never let him have a chance to escape. That's good. Vlad grinned, grinning, don't let me down. Yes, yes, yes. The 4 cowardly group of priests nodded again and again, daring not to disobey the slightest. I'll leave it to you. Vlad flapped his wings and soared into the sky. He was confident that these salted fish would not dare to go against his wishes. How could the guys who have been frightened by the power he showed just now have the courage to disobey his orders? Vlad continued to fly up. The huge vine was very high, and the shrine was just in the middle of it, far from its top, where Vlad's goal was. Because there's one thing there, something awesome, that Vlad really wants to see, and that's probably the most precious thing in Sky Island. It didn't take long to fly. Vlad's speed was very fast, and the vines were very high, but after all, it was limited. Vlad quickly flew to the top of the huge vine, overlooking the entire Sky Island, condescending. Well, let me see, where are you from? Vlad looked far and wide, his eyes looked around, the keen eyesight added by Longwa had been used to the limit, and he was about to roll his eyes. He was carefully checking the surrounding white clouds, maybe which one was him. Want something? Ah, there, I finally found it. It didn't take long. Although there were a lot of clouds nearby, they were not too many to make people head. Vlad soon found a little golden light in a white cloud. PFF'd. With a low voice, Vlad gently landed on the white clouds. The unique touch of Sky Island is very strange, softer and more elastic than the land. How beautiful this is! Vlad muttered to himself. Before his eyes was a rare beauty. It was a bell. A giant going bell. Chapter 146 Warriors of Sandia. Sky Island people behind them, but the clothes on their bodies are a bit shabby, and they are holding all kinds of weapons. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Their feet were wearing ice skating-like things similar to those of the divine soldiers. The strong power allowed them to walk fast even in the complex terrain environment with undulating trees and terrain. What was the huge explosion just now? The beautiful woman's voice asked with some doubts. I don't know. Judging from the location of the sound, it is very likely that the battle took place at the shrine. A man answered. Shrine. Woman's tone was a little strange. Isn't it at Enel's residence? Does it mean that someone has offended the god of the Holy Land in the sky? God. The low and cold man's voice rang out. There has never been a god, and that Enel is just a fool calling himself a god. Wepper. Some women have large tattoos on their faces, and a man with a huge cannon behind his back. His face is frozen, and there is no psychological activity, but the woman knows that this man must be very excited now, waiting for so long. It is finally possible to achieve the wishes of the tribe for hundreds of years. This man has been unable to control himself with excitement. Whether it's a god or a demon, it doesn't matter who it is, but as long as it's the guy who dares to stop us. The man named Wapa's tone was very cold. As long as it is a guy who dares to stop us from taking back the land of our ancestors, I will definitely burn him to ashes with the incendiary cannon in my hand. Today is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, although I don't know what happened, but one thing can be confirmed. Wapa jumped lightly over a huge tree, landed on the ground like an elegant cat, and continued onward. The priests guarding the forest are indeed gone. There is no reason for them who have the heart net to not notice us, just like in the past, before we came and went deep into the forest, those disgusting priests had already stopped in front of us. Wapa didn't look back, and said, today is the exception. At first, there was a huge explosion in the shrine, and then the priests also disappeared, so. Could it be something wrong with that Enel guy? Wapa said. You mean, someone attacked Enel? The woman asked. Who knows? Wapa gave a rare smile. But it doesn't matter, one thing is certain, that is, the road to the shrine is now unobstructed, and the real battle is finally about to begin. Bless us, my ancestors, great warrior Kalgara. Wepa thought silently in his heart, the treasure that our ancestors have been fighting for 400 years may be taken back by us today. The people of Shandia are finally going back to the homeland where they met after a long absence. These guys who are rushing towards the huge vines and towards the shrine are the warriors of Shandia, the descendants of the warriors who have fought bloody battles for 400 years in order to regain the land that was taken by the god of Sky Island 400 years ago. Today, we are fighting hard to realize the dreams of our ancestors. Dash 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 dash. Ha, ha. The ball-like man slumped on the ground, gasping for breath, with obvious horror in his eyes. What a terrible, terrible man. The man with his hair split into a dozen braids at the back of his head rolled his eyes, his lower lip tightly wrapped around his upper lip, with the most obvious look of fear on his face, and he couldn't stop humming. If you want to speak, open your mouth, okay. The man with a knight's spear in his hand smashed the head of the man who was constantly humming. His tone was very excited. When people are too scared, they will always make some extreme reactions. It's so scary, I thought I was going to die. The man who was shot down to the ground finally opened his mouth and shouted, how can there be such a person in the world? The last man had a long knife sticking beside him, and behind his back was a big dog that shivered uncontrollably. He sat cross-legged on the ground, and in front of him was the unconscious Enel. The man's tone was very low. I didn't expect the god Enel to be defeated, or the overwhelming disadvantage without resistance. Are the people of Blue Sea really that strong? Although he looked calm, the man's trembling hands had completely exposed the fear he had hidden in his heart. It's no wonder that these priests' psychological quality is not good enough, and they were scared to stand up by Vlad. The main reason is that these guys who live on Sky Island all year round have always belonged to the ruling class. Island is the guy in the top position. In this place, there are too few people who can fight against them. That's it. Under the god Enel alone, these guys who are above everyone in Sky Island suddenly discovered that there are such powerful guys in the world, powerful enough to easily defeat the invincible ones in the eyes of themselves and others. Enel, and such an enemy is still standing on their opposite, such a gap, they can't help but fear. God has already been defeated, will we still be priests in the future? The priest like a ball said so. Priest. The man sitting cross-legged on the ground mocked Isho. Whether you can survive or not is a question. Do you want to continue to be a priest? Are you thinking too much? That's right. Fatty quickly recognized the reality. They are still under the knife's knife. Whether they can see the sun tomorrow or not is another matter. Boom boom boom. Is it here? Along with the rumbling sound, the voices of some high women rang out. The four priests who were terrified turned their heads to look, and a very strange thing gradually emerged, appearing in this former shrine location. It should be a woman, and the lower body seems to be a car, similar to the mechanical structure of the crawler. The crawler is constantly rotating, and the strong power generated makes her speed very fast. The upper body is the appearance of a beautiful woman, with a cigarette in her mouth. Her eyes are still not good, and she doesn't look like a good person. Sitting on both sides of the body is a man and a woman, a man in white clothes and a woman in cowboy clothes. There is no doubt that the three members of the Fire Dragon Pirates have also arrived. It should be here, right? The sound of the explosion just now seems to have come from here. The chef jumps off, the car. Looking around, he said. Wow, that's scary. Serena looked around and couldn't see what the environment was like before, and said with some fear, is this caused by Mr. Captain? The maid turned back to a human appearance, but the depression in her heart was not so easy to vent. What did the bastard captain do? Whoosh whoosh. After a few whispers, another group of people arrived. Where's that Enel guy? Chapter 147 Bells. Where is Enel? The man named Wepa took the lead and rushed into the ruins of the shrine like a fly. His emotions kept stirring in his heart. Even this battle-hardened warrior felt a little dizzy. Facing the desire of the tribesmen for hundreds of years is about to be fulfilled, it is hard to help. Waipa, be careful. The man with glasses followed closely behind, just a little behind Waipa. As soon as he arrived, he noticed the two groups of people who were already on the ruins, and he was a little wary. The priests are also here. Sure enough, something happened to the shrine. You can't even see any wreckage now. Waipa's expression did not change at all. These priests have also gathered here. Did someone really attack the shrine? It's those thugs in Shandia. The fat priest named AWU said this, with a trace of indescribable fear in his tone. The two sides have been at war for a long time, although the previous generation of Sky Island god Gon, Fur advocated peace with the Shandians get along, but since Enel took the position of the gods from Gon, Fur 4 years ago, the guards of the gods headed by these 4 priests have started a protracted war with the warriors of Shandia. AWU is very aware of the strength of the other party. The man named Waipa must not be underestimated. Although this is only a meager strength compared with the god Enel, let alone compared with the man who defeated Enel, it is still enough to compare with himself. These priests are strong men. Che, what a coincidence. The priest with the spear in his hand, the knight of the sky, the man named Shira gritted his teeth. Now is not the time to fight with the guys from Shandia. The guy who has already flown to the top of the vine is like a time bomb, who don't know what will happen next. Hey, you guys. The maid took a few steps forward and said, she had already seen the contradiction between the savage-like guys and the 4 guys who were here before, but she didn't care, because she was strong, so calm. This is great. Guys, confidence. Have you met my captain? This is said to the priests. Who do you think you're talking to? Sitting cross-legged on the ground, the man named Om said indifferently, raised his head and replied in a very unhappy manner. In front of you are the guardians of the gods, the priests who are only under the gods. Who cares about you? The maid was never a good-natured woman. You just need to answer the old lady's question honestly. Foolish people. Shira held a spear in his hand. His tone was as hard as ice. Offending a priest is an unforgivable sin. Wait, Shira. Om's eyes widened suddenly, as if he remembered something. He swallowed with some difficulty, and said, you are pirates from the Blue Sea, right? It's been said that I don't have time to answer your questions. The corner of the maid's eyes hung up, and her tone became more and more impatient. I just want to hear your answers, it's enough, don't talk about anything else. Then the captain you're talking about is an adult who can use fire. Om stood up, his tone a little respectful. The other 3 priests felt cold behind their backs, and understood why Om's attitude changed in an instant. There are not many guys who can reach Sky Island from Blue Sea. There is no reason why they usually don't have one, but today there are several at the same time, right? So what these 3 people are looking for must be the monster from before. So you really have met the captain, right? The chef smiled and his attitude was much better than that of the maid. This man can smile at anyone, and is a real gentleman who is very easy to win the favor of each other. Then, may I ask, where did our captain go? The Lord flew up, and he said he would be back soon. Shira, who had a bad attitude before, quickly answered and said. Really? Chef nodded, thank you. No, it's okay. Shira waved his hands again and again. Since the captain said he would be back soon, let's just wait. The chef suggested so. Is there any other choice? The maid was helpless. Well, there must be something wrong with Mr. Captain. Serena expressed understanding. This is the end of the boring chatter. The man named Waipa said, although I don't know what happened, there is no doubt that now is a golden opportunity. You guys, answer me. Where the hell is Enel? It's not that Waipa has a problem with his eyes, and he can't see Enel lying in front of the priest. The question is who would believe that the guy with a black body and wounds would be the invincible and terrifying Enel. Sandia, what a bunch of idiots. Om doesn't have a good temper with the warriors of Shandia, and these guys are nothing more than clowns. Compared with the man who has the power to easily destroy Sky Island, it is really worthless. I'm so stupid. Wapa shook his head and said, how can ordinary questioning be effective? It seems that you still have to use fists to make you talk well. You can try it. Om shows no sign of weakness. What's the matter? The shrine is gone. There was a somewhat startled voice in the sky, and the old man riding an ugly Pegasus flew over the ruins. Oh, the former god, gone, 4. Om directly confirmed the identity of the other party and said, are you also attracted? No wonder, such a big movement. Gone, 4. Wapa glanced at the guy in the sky casually, don't try to stop me. What the hell happened? Pegasus fell to the ground, and the old man named Gone, 4 had a very blank expression on his face. Why is there nothing? Where are the god soldiers? Where's the team of gods? In the end. Then he saw the black humanoid on the ground, this, Enel. What the hell happened? He couldn't help but be surprised. He who was defeated by Enel himself knew the terrifying power of Enel. It was a natural disaster that mortals could never resist. What? Wapa heard Gonfoer say, is this guy Enel? Has Enel been defeated? Wapa said in disbelief, God, have you been defeated? God has been defeated by man, so what are these warriors who aim to defeat God? Confused, this man who aimed to defeat Enel and retake the ancestral land fell into endless confusion. Could it be this simple victory? When ... When ... When ... A beautiful voice rippling from top to bottom. A heavy and moving sound. It was a bell, a wonderful bell. This voice. The man named Wapa raised his head sharply, Is this the nicknamed War Ghost? The ghost-like man actually shed tears, and the stream-like tears blurred his eyes. That's it. After 400 years. Chandora's lamp. Chapter 148 Light up the lamp of Chandora. About 400 years ago, at that time, Sky Island did not have an island called the Island of God, and there was no island with land. At that time, Sky Island was just a cloud island composed of simple island clouds. The existence called the Earth, which is ignored by the people on the Blue Sea, is a precious treasure that the people of Sky Island can only hope for. But one day, an island made of land appeared on this white and white sea with an unprecedented violent current, which made all Sky Islanders ecstatic. Although the island was still ecstatic at that time, there are local residents, but it doesn't matter. In the face of such a huge temptation, those tenacious natives are not able to stop the Sky Island people. The natives on the original island were driven out of their land by the Sky Islanders commanded by the then god of Sky Island. In order to regain their hometown and protect the island's secrets, these warriors began to fight for the continuation of the mission. 400 years of fighting, the blood of generations poured out their names. They are Shandia. According to legend, 400 years ago, symbolizing the beginning of the protracted war, was a wonderful bell, as if it was the real sound of heaven, a wonderful sound that can make people feel baptized in their hearts. The bell at that time was like this one now. This is the lamp of Chandora. The man named Wapa burst into tears. Even in the face of the most difficult enemy, even the most unbearable injury, this man who would not show a trace of grief was really crying at this moment. Why is it ringing at this time? The man cried so loudly. Why is it 400 years late? The warriors of Shandia who were behind him were also in tears, and there was an indescribable emotion in their hearts. The ancestors pursued the voice of the whole 400 years and continued the promise of the whole 400 years. After 400 years today, finally has the opportunity to achieve. Is this the bell for war? The former god of Sky Island, Sky Knight Gone, Fur murmured to himself, it is such a beautiful bell, but why did it bring about a war that lasted for 400 years? Hey, great, what is this? The woman named Serena was very excited. Is this a bell? Is there a big bell with such a wonderful sound? Yeah, it's really awesome. The chef nodded lightly. Dash 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 dash. Time goes back to an earlier time. Vlad, who was suspended in the sky, easily saw a little bit of shining going color on a cloud in the distance, and naturally knew that he had found his destination. Wow, this is the going bell. Vlad walked forward, and within a few steps, he had already taken the shining bell into his eyes. How beautiful is this! Such a sparkle is indeed the treasure of the legendary going city Shandora. With admiration on Vlad's face, Shandora's lamp. It really shines. What appeared in front of Vlad was nothing but a huge going bell. The whole body was made of going, even after 400 years of rain and wind, even if it was covered with tenacious vines, but such beauty cannot be concealed. The beautiful patterns reveal the unique aesthetic concept of the people who lived in Shandola, the capital of going 800 years ago. This is a beauty that modern craftsmen cannot imitate. On the huge pedestal, there are several huge going pillars in the middle. Is the huge going clock. Vlad strolled forward, looking up at the beauty that ordinary people would never be able to see with their own eyes. The beautiful scenery was a wonderful enjoyment even in the eyes. Ooh! Vlad smiled. Is this the secret treasure that the Shandians have guarded for hundreds of years and then lost for another 400 years? Really? Vlad looked troubled and smiled. I don't understand it at all. In front of him is a huge stone, which is directly embedded on the base of the going bell, and on it is some text that Vlad can't understand at all. This one is one of those stones with 100 years of history that I don't want the world to know about. However, although Vlad can't understand these words, he does know the meaning of these words. What is recorded in this historical text is not that history, but another earth-shattering news about the three major ancient weapons. One of the Sea Kings is located. Vlad didn't pay too much attention to these words, and he couldn't read them anyway. What attracted his attention was another line of words. Although it was the same word, the writing was obviously different. It was engraved on the going pedestal next to the stone tablet. Vlad stretched out his hand and stroked the line of handwriting, the traces of strength and strength. The handwriting of each character was flamboyant but unrestrained, and it was clear that the man who wrote this line of writing had an extremely astonishing aura. I'm here. Take this article to the end of the world. Although he couldn't understand these words, it did not prevent Vlad from knowing the meaning of these words. He smiled, which was an extremely excited and passionate smile. Pirate, Gul D. Roger. Vlad grinned and laughed. Gul D. Roger. Ah ha ha ha. The author of this line of words is none other than One Piece, King of Pirates, the greatest pirate of all time, the initiator of the era of the great pirate, Gul D. Roger. Woo ha ha. Hey, Roger. Vlad touched the mark with his hand and turned his eyes to one side, as if he saw the man who laughed and engraved these lines on this pedestal. Yes, no doubt, that man that he must have been laughing at the time, and Vlad knew this very well, because now he already had the urge to laugh just by looking at this line of words. Don't wait any longer, Roger. Vlad smiled. Soon I'll take everything you left behind. Hey. Vlad took another look at the words written by One Piece, King of Pirates, then turned around without any hesitation, and walked straight to the pedestal of the huge going bell, which has been lost for 400 years. Lights are already within reach. This is the lamp of Shandora. Vlad smiled. The agreement that lasted for 400 years, and the bloody battles of several generations, is to make its sound resound through the sky once again. Well, the great warrior Calgary, Mont Blanc, Rolando, 2 men, 2 families, continued the agreement that continues for 400 years. Vlad's body began to rise. The huge fire dragon appeared, the fiery red dragon and the golden going. All this seemed extremely harmonious. It's so romantic. So, let me ring in the sky. The lamp of Shandora. Let the descendants of those 2 men hear it well. The original promise has been fulfilled. Boom. Vlad punched the going bell hard. When ... The beautiful bells roared in the sky. Chapter 149 Bells and Promise. 400 years ago, an expedition led by a man named Mont Blanc, Rolando arrived at Jaya Island, and had a fierce conflict with the Shandians, who were the inhabitants of Jaya Island at that time, commanded by the great warrior Calgara. As a result of the conflict, the two became the most sincere friends. The friendship between men is as simple as that. Maybe it was just 2 words. Maybe it was a look at each other. Maybe it was such a fierce battle that rescued the victim. The disease-plagued Shandians broke the centuries-old tradition of offering sacrifices on Jaya Island, and Rolando, who saved Calgara's daughter, has undoubtedly become Calgara's best friend. It was at that time that a man named Rolando first saw this going bell, a great miracle that the Shandians have guarded for hundreds of years, and its incomparably moving music made Rolando unforgettable. However, in order to solve the disease called tree fever for the Shandians, Rolando cut down the sacred tree that the Shandians believed to be the sustenance of their ancestors' souls. As a result, an irreconcilable conflict finally emerged between the two close friends. Rolando left Jaya Island for the first time and forever. In the end, Calgara, who knew that Shenmue was the source of the tree fever, was extremely regretful, but after all, he did not catch the last chance to say goodbye to his best friend, so he vowed that he would always ring the going bell to guide his best friend. Rolando didn't feel sad because of his friend's misunderstanding. He believed so much in his friend, he was so convinced that his friend would forgive him, but when he came to this Jaya Island again with hope, by then, Shandia and Going Zhang had disappeared. Rolando was sentenced to death for deceiving the monarch, and the Going township he spoke of naturally became the biggest lie in the world. The real existence of Going township, however, no one wants to believe. No one wants to believe it, but some people are willing to look for it. In order to wash away the crimes of their ancestors, the descendants of the Mont Blanc family embarked on the road to pursue the Going township. They have been waiting for the oath of the Going bell to ring. But the Shandians who lost their hometown and the Going bell have no way to inform their friends who have been looking for themselves, and the Going bell cannot be sounded, and the original oath continues from generation to generation. The bells are ringing, and the wonderful bells are ringing in the clouds, resounding through the sky. After 400 years, the sound of the huge Going bell once again covered the Sky Island. Wonderful! The old man with feathers on his head listened to the beautiful voice from the sky, with a smile on his face. Is this the lamp of Shandora? The treasure that the ancestors have been searching for, the treasure of the Shandians. Na 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 na, Grandpa Chief. The little girl with a headscarf wrapped around the chief's grandfather's thighs, her big eyes twinkling, she said, "What is this voice? It's really nice. Isn't it? Sounds good, doesn't it?" The chief leaned down and hugged the little girl, his eyes looking at the sky, which was the direction the bell came from. "It's a matter of course, Aisha, that's the treasure that our ancestors have been searching for 400 years. Treasure. Little Elsa tilted her head. Is it a treasure like Elsa's earth? The girl raised her right hand, holding a small bag on it, which contained her treasure, the thing called the earth, that is, a small bag of soil, which is indeed precious to the people of Sky Island's treasure. Yeah, Aisha, a treasure like Aisha's earth. Chief replied, treasures that have been lost for 400 years, treasures that have been searched for 400 years. Has it been so long? The little girl named Aisha hugged her treasure tightly and said, Aisha won't let the earth find it, and even Wapa won't try to snatch him away. In little Elsa's heart, Wapa, who is like a demon, is the most terrifying guy in the world. That's right, Elsa. The chief was stunned and said, the so-called treasures are meant to be protected with all their might. So for 400 years, the warriors of Shandia have been working hard for their treasures, bleeding and fighting, for 400 years. Grandpa Chief, are you crying? Elsa tilted her head. Elsa doesn't cry anymore. The chief's face was wet, but he was smiling. No, Aisha, Grandpa Chief is not crying, I'm happy. Happy. Elsa blinks. Yeah, weeping with joy when the promise was finally fulfilled. The chief held the little girl and rubbed his face against the little girl's face. No, Grandpa Chief's face is so stabbed. Ha 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 ha. Chief laughed. Can you hear me, Rolando? Although it's 400 years late, you can still hear it clearly. Good friend. Dash 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 dash. What is this voice? Someone was surprised. What a wonderful voice. Someone exclaimed, is there still such a wonderful voice in the world? Yeah, it sounds too good, doesn't it? Someone echoed, even that ensemble of Anna and Olaf is nothing more than that. Yes, it came from the sky. Someone was shocked. Sky. Someone swallowed, could it be? Sky Island. The man with the sword in his arms leaned beside the huge pirate ship. There were already a lot of guys who had ideas about this ship. His expression was very serious. It really exists. Does the captain want to go up and have a look too? The woman stood aside and closed her eyes to listen to the sound from the sky and laughed. Well. The man named Morik smiled and said, I'm a pirate too, right? Of course it is, Master Captain. The woman smiled. Dash 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 dash. Hey, boss. Two men ran like gorillas and shouted, did you hear that? The bell from the sky. Be quiet. The man with the strange diamond-shaped cheeks is standing on the shore, with his arms crossed his chest, a cigarette in his mouth, and a smile on his face. I'm almost out of hearing. Oh. The two orangutans stood obediently to one side. That's it. Man muttered to himself, is this what you've been looking for? No wonder, after hearing such a beautiful voice, how can you deny his existence? Right, Rolando. It turned out to be in the sky. Sandia, friends, I finally found it. I heard it. The man's tears poured out like a dike burst, and the hardcore's face was filled with tears. The legendary bell, I have heard it. Although it is 400 years too late, I have indeed heard it. The man's name is Montblanc, Couric, the king of Big Talk, the descendant of Montblanc, Rolando. The promise of a man who spanned 400 years has finally come true today. The man was crying and laughing as he said, how romantic this is. After 400 years of promise, after a long time, the promise of two men has finally come true. How romantic is this? Chapter 150 Come Back. Time passed quietly, and the bells gradually subsided, but the impact of such a short period of time had just begun. The island of the gods, the ruins of a shrine on a huge vine. The original glorious shrine can only be described by the name of ruins, which is a bit inappropriate. After all, even the ruins still have some ruins, but there was only a white field left in this place, and there was nothing left. Quiet, everyone in the open space is quiet, no one speaks, whether it is the priest, the warrior of Shandia, the former god gone, Fur, or the pirates from the Blue Sea, the three members of the Fire Dragon Pirates. The same is true. No one speaks. Such a soul-stirring voice is truly amazing. Wonderful. Quote. Someone spoke, and the voice was very weak, but it was strong. Does anything like this still exist on Sky Island? It was none other than the god of Sky Island who was defeated by the pirate Vlad from the Blue Sea before, Enel, the Guro no Mi rumble fruit capable person, whose charred face could still be vaguely seen. Admiration. Don't even know me as a god. God. Are you awake? Four priests heard Enel's voice. They squatted down, and their voices were a little eager. Vlad had already said before when he left. If Enel ran away, they would all die ugly. It's good that Enel didn't wake up. No problem, but the question is, now that Enel is awake, how can they stop him if he wants to go? Even though Enel is seriously injured now, they still have nothing to do with him. Logia's ability is such a bug. After eating Guro no Mi rumble fruit, Enel's body has completely turned into lightning. They can't even touch Enel. With unparalleled determination in his tone, the man named Wapa stepped forward. Sandia and the people of Sky Island have been fighting for 400 years, and it will come to an end today. As long as you defeat the Sky Islander God, then no one can stop us from taking our land back. Beat me. Yeah, ha ha ha. Enel laughed. Sandia guy, who do you think you're talking to? You mean you want to beat me, beat my god? Even with a severely injured body, it is not easy to move even now, but this man still laughs when he is facing the enemy, although he has confidence in himself. Guro guro no mi, rumble rumble fruit, but, there is no doubt, this can also clearly see the pride in this man's heart. A mere mortal, keep me humble when facing the gods. HMPH. Waipa held the incendiary cannon behind his back, and snorted coldly, if you want to talk big, it's time to take advantage of it. I'll let you know that the so-called god is meaningless. Needless to say, the Sandia warriors behind him are naturally prepared with various weapons and can start fighting at any time. How can you be allowed to offend the majesty of God while he is hurt? A man named Om drew his sword from the ground. The 4 priests stepped forward and blocked between Enel and the Shandians. If you want to fight, add an old man too. The former god of Sky Island, Gon, 4 held a spear in his hand, and his tone was cold. Yeah ha ha ha. Enel laughed, this is really funny, is this a battle that decides Sky Island's ownership? Isn't even the former god unwilling to be lonely? Gentlemen, let me interject. Cook smiled, is this friend named Enel injured by our captain? It's really easy to see that Enel's injuries are mainly burns, and no one on this Sky Island can do such a thing except for his own captain. Oh, are you the subordinates of that dragon? Enel looked intrigued, so that's the case, does that devil dragon also want to fight for the supremacy of Sky Island? No way, is he just like that? Enel really disliked Sky Island. Yes, that lord told us to take good care of God Enel, he will be back soon. Om replied respectfully. That is to say. Enel on the ground and muttered to himself. Is that person the boatman selected by the captain? Serena was a little curious. Woo. The maid let out a puff of smoke, threw the cigarette butt on the ground and stomped on it hard, stepped forward and said, since this is the case, I can't let you guys do it again. She said this to the soldiers of Shandia. Since this man is favored by the captain, he will be our partner sooner or later. Since he will be our partner, then we can't watch you do it. Now. So you're going to protect Enel? Waipa's tone was as cold as ever, then it's the enemy. I don't care. Maid shrugged, I'll see if there's a war. Yeah ha ha ha, so it is. Is that what that guy had in mind? Enel laughed, it's like I want to recruit him, he also has the same idea about my god. Yeah ha 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 ha, this is decent, this is decent. Since you dare to stand in front of us, you must be ready to die, right? Waipa said. You can try anyway. The maid showed no signs of weakness. Woo, do you want to fight again? The chef smiled wryly. Ooh. Majestic laughter came from the sky. Fire Dragon Pirates, your captain is back. It's finally back. The maid raised her head with a faint smile in her tone. Clap. That's what. Behind Waipa, a Shandia warrior could no longer hold the weapon in his hand, and the expression on his face was extremely frightened. Shocking to describe it, it is a huge unattainable human being. That's. Waipa was equally stunned, without the desire to fight. On the claws of the fire dragon is a huge thing. The whole body is made of going. On the huge base, among the going pillars, is the going bell that the Shandian people have been looking for 400 years. Bang! Was an extremely loud sound, and the ground sank in just an instant. Vlad put the going bell on the ground, and the weight was astonishing. Hey, I'm so tired. Vlad changed back to his human form, and his forehead was covered in sweat. This going bell was really heavy, and even Vlad in a fully dragonized state would find it very difficult to carry. Hello, Mr. Captain, is this the clock that made the sound just now? Serena asked eagerly. Well, that's right. Vlad crossed his hips, looking complacent. How is it? It's not bad, isn't it? The spoils of this trip, the treasure of the legendary going city of Shandora, the lamp of Shandora. Give it back to us. Chapter 151 Gone, 4. Chapter 151 Gone, 4. Take that going bell. Give it back to us. The man named Waipa shouted, his eyes were full of excitement, his body shot out like an arrow, and the shoes inlaid with wind shells on his feet provided him with strong motivation. Going Bell, which the Shandia family had been looking for 400 years, was placed in front of him, and he couldn't help but be excited. Bang! Waipa flew back at a faster speed than when he came, with a huge footprint on his face. "What do you want, bastard?" Vlad withdrew his big foot. With his strength, Waipa naturally had no chance of hurting him. "Are you trying to fight us?" Cough cough. Waipa coughed heavily, and a trace of blood flowed out of his mouth. Even if it was not a real kick, Vlad's attack was not so pleasant. "Give it back." Waipa stood up again. "Very immortal, that's the treasure of the Shandians." "Huh, Sandia's treasure." Vlad raised his eyebrows. "Who cares about you? Is this Lao Tzu's trophy? Whether it's this Going Bell or this God's Island, it's already Lao Tzu's property. It's the booty that Lao Tzu snatched from that guy Enel. You asked me to give it back to you. Dreaming friend." Of course, Vlad knew that both the Going Bell and the Island of the Gods were the property of the Shandians in the past, and they were the dream treasures that they had been fighting for 400 years, but so what? He, Uncle Vlad, is a pirate, not a philanthropist. What he stole back will be returned to the original owner. Just kidding, since it has been in the hands of Uncle Vlad, don't think about taking it back. The so-called dragon, after all, still loves treasure, and Vlad is a real fire dragon. "Yeah, ha 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 ha, that's right, that's what it looks like, demon dragon." Enel laughed loudly. "That's the kind of solitary person, that's the kind of guy who deserves to be my god's opponent." "An opponent?" Vlad turned his head with a smile. "I'm afraid you've forgotten who made you look like this." "Give it back to me." Waipa roared so angrily, ignoring the disparity in strength between the two sides, and rushed towards Vlad again. "Butter-shaped coffin of oil." The chef stretched out his right hand, and a stream of butter shot out like a ray. The keen observation hockey had already locked on Waipa's body. The man had no room to escape, and was instantly hit by the chef's attack. Butter seemed to have life. The same began to spread rapidly in Waipa. Crack! Waipa fell to the ground. His legs were completely covered with butter, but the spread of the butter continued. Before Waipa could react, his whole body was completely wrapped in butter. The specially made hard butter formed a coffin shape, and Waipa is wrapped in it. Only one face leaks out. "Be quiet, sir." Chef smiled. "I can't just watch you take action against the captain." Waipa, quote. "Damn it, the capable one." Seeing Waipa being subdued in an instant, the rest of the Shandians couldn't sit still. Boom boom boom. There were continuous explosions on the ground, and the huge sound spread all over the field, and the strong storm even blew people's faces. "I said don't move." Several gun barrels emerged from the maid's back, and her tone was very bad. "Do you really think you can start a war with us just by you? It's not like this is courting death." "Huh, are you going to fight?" Serena cringed a little. After all, she was still an eldest lady before she went to sea, but soon this woman had firmed up her determination. "Although I'm not very good at fighting, but I sing so badly," Serena said to herself. "Huh, I heard someone say behind my back that." The woman's expression changed instantly, and she had already picked up the violin in her hand. "Isn't it you who said you were yourself?" Vlad was very fascinated. "You can say it yourself. Is it an active skill for personality switching? It's so convenient. What a great partner." Enel said so. "Isn't that right?" Vlad turned his head and said as a matter of course. "My partner, of course, some very good guys." "Yeah ha ha ha. That's really self-righteous." Enel laughed. Neither of them cared about Sandia's movements. For these two reckless guys, these guys are optional. "Am I still more arrogant in calling myself God?" Vlad said. "Hey, God, come to my ship, I love you." Yes, this Enel is very much to Vlad's appetite. "Yeah ha ha. I refuse." Dash 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 dash. Bang. The butter shattered violently, and Wapa staggered to his feet. "Hey, chef, did you keep your hands?" The maid was a little surprised, and that was the only reason. Otherwise, this guy would have no reason to break free from the chef's shackles when his hands and feet were restricted. "Keeping hands in battle is disrespectful to the opponent," said the chef. "Hurry up if you want to fight." Serena with a strong personality is a woman with a lot of temper and anger. "I finally came out once," repeated Babe. The former god of Sky Island, gone, said, "Wapa, are you really taking your own life?" Wapa's right hand trembled, but his tone was very calm. "It doesn't matter, whoever wants to take this life can take it. Only, the 400-year-old wish must never be in vain." "You." Gone. Fewer was speechless, facing a man who already had sufficient consciousness. Any words were pale and powerless. The so-called platoon shell is an upgraded version of the shock shell. The shock shell that can absorb the impact and then release it is very powerful, but the platoon shell is 10 times stronger than the shock shell, and its power has surpassed Liu Ji's 6 King's Spear. It's not surprising that the battered shell in Wapa's right hand can smash a chef's butter. Huh. The chef let out a slow sigh of relief. What a formidable opponent. A man who sacrifices his life and death for his beliefs will never be an ordinary guy. The chef knows this very well. This is the so-called daring. The warriors of Sandia. Wapa yelled, "Fight!" Oh. No one backed down. The 400-year wish was in sight, and no one was willing to back down. Cut. Maid pouted, "What a bunch of crazy guys." "But don't hate it," Serena said, "but it's okay. My use of this ability is not the same as that guy. These guys just let me try it out." Humph. The maid snorted coldly. "The battle is imminent." "Stop." Someone yelled. It was gone. The fight is pointless." Everyone was startled. "I don't care. It doesn't matter if I fight or not." The maid put her hands around her chest and lit a cigarette. "What are you kidding, old man?" Wapa said. "The 400-year wish is in front of you. You want me to give up?" "Stop joking, asshole." "Hey, Mr. Pirate Captain." Gone. Did not answer Wapa's words, turned his head and shouted at Vlad. Call me." Vlad turned his head. Chapter 152 Best of Both Worlds. Are you going to reject me?" Vlad looked very surprised, and the expression in his eyes was unbelievable. "I believe that not many people would like the feeling of being rejected, which is really not a pleasant thing. It should be me who should be surprised, right? Enel who just rejected Vlad himself. This Sky Island god is also very surprised. Why on earth do you think I will agree to your invitation?" "Don't be so arrogant, Blue Sea people. How could I, as a god, submit to another human being?" Enel looked arrogant. Even though this man was seriously injured, he was still extremely proud when facing the man who beat him to the point where he could barely move. He was indeed somewhat divine. "Really?" Vlad scratched his head. "This is really difficult. You don't want to." "This is also natural. No matter who gets beat up by someone for no reason, and then asks others to be their subordinates without any reason, isn't it a bit too shameless? This kind of treatment is unacceptable to a normal person, let alone that the man Vlad wants to recruit is a rebellious and reckless guy like the god Enel. If he can't move now, Enel promises to get up and strike Thor immediately. Without hesitation. "Stop kidding me, dragon." Enel smiled, his eyes full of arrogance. "God, you will never fail. Let alone give in." "Really?" Vlad smiled. "I've been beaten like this and still don't admit my failure. Since I'm still alive, I haven't lost yet." Enel said so. PFF ha 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 ha. Vlad laughed. "I like you more. We might actually get along very well, Mr. Pirate Captain." It was at this time that Vlad heard Gonfour's voice. Call me." Vlad turned his head. "Oh, is that you? The former god of Sky Island, Gonfour. Then what's the matter?" Vlad replied. "Excuse me, is it you who defeated Enel?" Gone, 4 said so. That's right. Vlad smiled. It's me, what's the problem? That's right, the battle is pointless. Gone, 4 shouted, facing Waipa. What are you talking about, old man? Waipa didn't buy it at all. In front of him is the dream that the ancestors of the clan have been waiting for 400 years. How can he stop like this? Treasure that belongs to Shandia, do you want us to just let it go? Vespa's forehead burst into blue veins, but although he was very angry, the man didn't mean to do anything to Gon, for this old man had been vigorously promoting the people of Shandia and Sky Island when he was a god. Speaking of peace, it can be said that if it wasn't for the sudden appearance of Enel, the Shandians might have already returned to their ancestral land under the intervention of this old man. Waipa cannot do anything about such an old man. Stupid. Gon, Fur was furious. Waipa, are the treasures of our ancestors more important, or are our own people more important? These pirates can easily defeat the existence of Enel. Do you want the entire Sandia to be destroyed for your expectations? Hey, don't be so cruel as we say. Vlad was a little speechless. How did he become the setting of the big villain? Old man, I have endured you for a long time. Waipa strode to Gon, 4's side and grabbed Gon, 4's shoulder, his face almost touching the old man's face. Are you underestimating the warriors of Shandia? I know how you are doing. Gon, 4 did not show weakness, and his forehead was on Waipa's forehead. Both men were full of anger. The difference was that Waipa was angry because Gon, 4 obstructed himself, while Gon, 4 was because of Waipa's behavior as purely courting death. Of course I know very well that the Shandians have always been first-class warriors, but Waipa. I know better how strong Enel is. It was the power that completely swept away me and the team of gods in an instant 4 years ago. That is the power of God. Gon, 4 roared. Monsters like Enel were easily defeated by that man. Is there a second way for such an enemy to fight against him besides destruction? Quote. Is there a second option? After a brief silence, Waipa suddenly lifted Gon, 4, who was slightly thin, with tears in the eyes of this iron-like man, and even the strongest man would cry sometimes. Ancestors, the treasure is right in front of us. Should we just give it up like this? Do you want to let the blood of the ancestors of the past 400 years flow in vain? Is it necessary to ignore the promises and sacrifices of the 400 years? Answer me, Gon, 4. Answer me, God. Waipa growled like this. Quote. Facing this roaring man, Gon Fewer was speechless. The tears of women made people feel distressed, and the tears of men made people sigh. Well, why are you beeping all the time? Vlad said helplessly, I'm the protagonist, okay. What kind of drama are you adding to yourselves? As for the second option. Vlad grinned Isho, there are still some. Best of both worlds. Quote. What do you mean? Waipa said this with a serious expression. It's very simple. Vlad said, the god of Sky Island is Enel, but now he has been defeated by me, right? Ignoring Enel's low, I haven't lost yet. Speech, Vlad continued, it can be said that everyone in the entire Sky Island combined is not our opponent. You can't deny this, right? Then what? Waipa's face was gloomy, and Vlad's words were not wrong. The strength of this man, this group of Blue Sea people is indeed unimaginably strong, and it is a strength that the entire Sky Island can't match. That's not the end, since I have defeated the original god, and I have power that you can't match. Vlad smiled, then why don't I just be a god? What are you kidding? Enel, who was lying on the ground. The man almost stood up. He was furious like never before. There is only one god forever, and that is me, God Enel. Stop talking nonsense to me, you out of this world god. Vlad smiled and kicked Enel stunned. Woo ha 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 ha. It's my time now. The real god is me. God. Gone. 4VV was startled, then laughed. Maybe this is the best way. Really? Vlad feels good about himself. It's really the best of both worlds. Testimonials on the shelves. After more than 2 months, This book is finally going to be on the shelves. The original source of this book is to read One Piece, King of Pirates. There are really so many people watching. I really thank you good friends for your support. The public chapter is 340,000 words, and it should not be too small in the two-dimensional area where 100,000 words can be put on the shelves. I admire my willpower, and I can write so much. When I first opened the book, I was thinking that it would not be enough to write 200,000 words, but now it has exceeded more than half. Of course, this is inseparable from your support. The first is to edit Xingye Da. As a newbie, there are many kinds of silly questions. Sometimes I feel that I have asked some too mentally retarded questions. Fortunately, Xingye Da, he is very kind. He patiently helped me answer my questions, so that I would not be too obsessed. It helped me a lot. Thank you very much. Then I would like to thank all of you in the book group. Although there are not many people, group number 678,801,420, there are really few people. I really appreciate your support. Usually, everyone joins the group, chatting, and occasionally encouraging me. This newbie has given me more motivation to continue writing. I'm really grateful. I won't name them all here. Thank you all. In the end, the most important thing is of course to thank the readers who have accompanied me until now. To be honest, I didn't think I could write so much at first. It is only with the company of so many readers that I will always be firm when I thought of, there are still so many readers chasing after me. It will feel very warm, and the heating will be saved in this cold winter. I really appreciate the support of so many readers. The support of readers is the greatest affirmation for the author. I am really grateful that so many people believe in me. It will be on the shelves tomorrow. According to the usual practice, it will break out. I am not quick to code, and it is not easy to save the manuscript. I will present it in 10 more tomorrow, and I hope you will support it. Let's talk about the conditions of adding more, not to mention the usual reward plus. You should also ask for the recommended ticket. Every 2,500 recommendation plus more. The monthly ticket is a little eager even for a salted fish like me. Be crazy, 100 monthly ticket plus one more. That's it. It will be launched at 12 noon tomorrow. Thank you for your support. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Chapter 153 The New God of Sky Island. What do you mean? Weipa said. The gods of the Sky Island people have nothing to do with us. Shandia SWW . Yeah. Vlad said with a bit of hatred for iron and steel. Why are you so ignorant, my friend? I said that I want to be the god of Sky Island, of course, including your Shandia. What are you kidding? Weipa was furious. Do you actually want to enslave our Sandia? Do you think Sandia's warriors will surrender because of your violence? Can you hear me finish? Vlad scratched his head in confusion. These people are really annoying, and it's really hard to say a word. Don't you want to get your treasure back? Quote. Go ahead. Weipa Vivi was silent, and then he confessed. I have become the god of Sky Island. As a god, I have my own subordinates, right? Vlad said. Wouldn't it be too boring if it were just a few big cats and kittens on my boat? Hey, Captain, you can't pretend you didn't hear that. The maid was angry. Vlad pretended not to hear her, and said to himself, so, I have to recruit a group of men. I think you Shandia are very good, aren't you a group of great warriors? What the hell do you mean? Weipa couldn't help but said. What do I mean? How can you be so ignorant? Vlad sighed and said, isn't it very simple? To be my bodyguard, at least live close to me, for example. Weipa's eyes lit up. Isn't the island of the gods a great place under your feet? Vlad said, wouldn't this be a great choice for my magic team? Quote. Weipa didn't speak, his eyes were a little shaken, and he couldn't help but not shake. It has been 400 years since the Shandia people lost their ancestral land. There is no doubt that this time is the closest to their homeland. Hey, aren't you, Captain, are you going to stay here and be a god? The maid said in dissatisfaction, "We are pirates." "Yes, Mr. Captain." Chef also said, "We have no reason to stop here." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Vlad smiled and said, "There is no conflict between being the god of Sky Island and being a pirate adventurer. Who stipulated that the god must stay in one place and cannot leave?" "Humph." The maid snorted and said nothing. "That's it, how is it? It's a very favorable condition, and even the housing issue has been thought of for you." Vlad said, "On the lower layer of the huge vines, under the clouds, there is an ancient city called Shandola, right? You can live in it, just consider it a staff dormitory. Although it is in ruins, but I don't think you will care, do you?" Shang, Chandora. Waipa's eyes widened, tears slowly slid out. Is it still there? Is Shandora, the holy land of Shandia, still there? How? Is this condition good enough? Vlad put his arms around his chest. Under such conditions, the Shandians had almost no room to resist. Of course, with such superior conditions, of course you also have great responsibilities. Vlad tilted his head and said, "Not to mention the daily defense work, your more important task is." Vlad pointed to the huge going clock behind him and smiled. "Take care of this thing, I really like this Chandora lamp. This is my treasure, you guys. You have to defend it with your life." Fred said seriously. Waipa stared blankly at Vlad and didn't speak. He was just aggressive, but not a fool. He really couldn't see the other party's intentions, but he really couldn't figure out why the other party was so kind to them. Are all Blue Sea people such good people? Vlad didn't think there was anything wrong with what he did. Of course, there was no problem in letting Shandia stay on the island of God. Isn't it too desolate to have only some animals in a huge forest? The ancient city of Shandola was evacuated by Enno long ago, and naturally it belongs to him. There are only ruins left, and only the people of Shandia still miss her. The rest of the going bell, not to mention, is not something that can be obtained at all. It is his thing anyway. It is good to find some people to watch it, at least you don't have to worry about it disappearing. So this is equivalent to recruiting a group of fighters with decent fighting power for nothing. Isn't this a lucrative business? At least Vlad didn't feel like he was at a loss. "Hello, Captain, isn't it?" The maid said in surprise. "Aren't we going to take this going bell? This thing is super precious, right?" Yes, sir, Captain." Serena was especially surprised by Vlad's idea. "This clock is awesome. Shall we take it?" "Take it? What's the joke?" Vlad pointed to the piece of historical text on the base of the going clock, and said, "Once this thing is brought to the Blue Sea, it is purely courting death. The government will go crazy." The two women looked a little confused. "So that's the case, is that a historical text?" The chef looked at the strangely shaped words and said, "I didn't expect that there would be such a thing on Sky Island. The captain is right, this thing must not be brought to the Blue Sea, at least, not until our strength is enough. There are still people who know how to do it." Vlad smiled. "So, warriors of Sandia, are you willing to accept my leadership? Accept my new Sky Island's god's leadership?" "Wepper." The woman standing behind Waipa tentatively called out the man's name. "I." Waipa turned back and saw dozens of pairs of eyes flashing with anticipation, and there were no extra thoughts, even if he had no way to go against the thoughts in his heart. "There is no reason to fight anymore," Waipa said. "The long-cherished wish of our ancestors for 400 years has been fulfilled, already." The man burst into tears. "There's no reason to fight anymore. Sandians, the 400 years of war is over." "Hee, that's great, the Shandians have agreed, next." Vlad looked at the four priests who had shrunk to one side from the beginning and smiled. "What do you think?" Hey. The four priests rubbed their hands together and smiled heehily. They were brave enough to give them the courage to resist Vlad. It is no exaggeration to say that this man's strength is a real god. Although there are not many divine soldiers left, they have indeed chosen to defect. In this way, the two biggest forces of Sky Island have been mastered by Vlad, and the god of Sky Island has indeed fallen to him. On the head. Ah. The huge fire dragon soared into the sky and flew towards Angel Island, and the terrifying momentum spread without reservation. I am the embodiment of power. When a new official takes office, the residents must get acquainted. Chapter 154 Ultra, Platinum, Drager. It has been half a year since the huge fire dragon pierced the sky and announced the arrival of the new god, and the lives of the residents of Sky Island have not changed drastically. X23 US. Com updates fastest. The new god is different from the previous god Enel. Basically, he doesn't care about things. Any major matters are basically handled by the right hand of the god, the chef god Dino. For the residents of Sky Island, compared to the dragon god who is basically faceless, this gentleman who often comes to Angel Island to buy ingredients, is very polite, and treats people with kindness is very popular. He is handsome, has a high status, is not arrogant, and is approachable. There is no reason for a man like a chef to be unpopular. At first, he was fine. He kept his distance because he was unfamiliar. The residents of Angel Island also kept him at a distance, but as with the passage of time and the familiarity, the chef began to feel a little troubled. Every time the residents of Angel Island see him, they are very enthusiastic. It can be said that the enthusiasm is a bit too much. Recently, there has even been an aunt who introduced him to his girlfriend because she knew that he was still single. Frada almost broke his stomach with laughter because of this, and sure enough, there are aunts who love to lead the red thread. If there is any change, it is still there, that is the integration of Shandia. Although this family has been staying in the forest of the Island of God, they are unwilling to leave, but with Vlad's coming to the Island of God after the ban was lifted, most of the residents of Angel Island also wanted to go to the Island of God to see the real land. The two sides had been a bloody feud that lasted for 400 years, and they almost fought. In the end, it was Vlad forcibly suppressing it, so that the two sides could never do anything. Of course, it's okay to talk. So for the past few months, groups of people in the forest can be seen every day arguing, scolding from morning to night. Without taking a break, Vlad also went with them, as long as no one was killed. As time went by, the Sky Island and the Shandia people who lived together would merge sooner or later, and they all came from Clan on the Moon. Vlad has been a little excited in recent days. The big project that lasted for half a year is finally about to be completed. He has waited for this thing for half a year. Although Sky Island is beautiful, it will be like that after a long time. It is interesting to have a free and easy adventure at sea. Vlad to stay on Sky Island for half a year. On the one hand, it is to consolidate his status as a god. After all, he has already become a god. It is better not to be too watery. Sky Island is a good place to be in the sky. This is a natural base, and the government can't do anything about it. The second reason is naturally for this big project. This is something Vlad has been looking forward to for a long time. The reason why I wanted to go to Sky Island before was to find Enelif, and the other purpose was for this big project. Works out. Flying has always been the dream of human beings. To be able to fly freely in the sky has always been a vision engraved in my heart. Vlad can indeed fly now, but he still feels that it is not enough, but it is not very meaningful for him to fly alone. Big, so he thought of a boat. The name of the ship is Ark. Proverbs, the former god of Sky Island, the ship built by Enel led the team of gods, and the big ship that uses Enel's electricity to fly. Although it is a little ugly, the ability to fly has made up for the appearance. It's not enough. Throughout the entire One Piece King of Pirates world, this is the only ship that can fly. It's unique. Vlad would like to make his Platinum D-Drag fly too. Although the Platinum D-Drag is good enough, Vlad doesn't mind making it even better. A pirate ship that can fly, isn't it awesome? Vlad is a man who wants to do what he wants. After occupying the throne of Sky Island, the transformation began in the hands of the divine soldiers commanded by the priests and Enel, who was unwilling to help. Speaking of which, it took Vlad a lot of effort to bring Platinum Drag to Sky Island before. It is not easy for him to bring such a huge ship, not to mention the barrier of the White Sea. It's not as easy as bringing up that little submersible before. Fortunately, Sky Island also has a magical thing called shellfish. Shellfish called wind shells can store wind, which is very magical. Sky Island people use wind shells as energy to make transportation. It took hundreds of wind shells to install them under the platinum drag, and the strong power was finally able to lift the ship to the sky. After being pulled by Vlad, it was easy to enter the White Ocean. After all, Haiyan is different from the real sea. Although it has all the characteristics of sea water, it is not water after all. It is not easy to bring the Sky Island, which is 10,000 meters above the ground. 6 months have passed, and the big renovation project is finally coming to an end. Vlad is very excited to come to the center of the Island of God, the newly built shipbuilding site, and other places cannot be used. God. The busy and enthusiastic soldiers saw that Vlad was all Vv's beau, so they continued to work. This was Vlad's request. Compared with boring etiquette, Vlad was more concerned about his own baby. The progress of the ship's renovation. Without any shelter, there will be basically no rain on Sky Island, 10,000 meters above the ground, and basically no rain clouds will float above Sky Island. The fiery red ship Platinum drag has changed a lot in appearance. First of all, the mast on the ship was completely removed. It was useless at first, so it was used to hang the pirate flag. Now there is a special pole protruding from the deck. The fire dragon, the dragon head pirate flag of the pirates, is hoisted on it. There is no special change in the hull, but there are a lot of small holes at the bottom, and nearly 1,000 wind shells are embedded in it. There are many small windows on the side of the hull, and many propellers are hidden in them. When the energy is sufficient, these propellers can generate enough power to let the boat fly leisurely in the sky. By the way, the so-called energy refers to oil or electricity. This ship, the Platinum Drager, is a gasoline-electric twin-drive ahead of its time. Since then, this ship has the qualification to soar in the sky, and it can already be called the Super Platinum Drager. Yo, isn't that the captain? A slightly unhappy female voice came from the boat. Vlad looked up and smiled. How is it, maid? How is the renovation progress? The weapons part went well. The maid jumped off the boat gently, her face slightly stained with oil. It's the captain. What exactly do you want to transform the boat into? Are you trying to build another Pluto? Ahaha. Vlad laughed. Who knows? By the way, what about that Enel guy? Vlad looked left and right and couldn't see Enel, the chief engineer of the project, absent from work again. After cultivating, he has not given up the idea of taking back the position of God from you. Maid's tone was a little worried. Captain, can this guy really be our partner? He doesn't mean to get on the boat at all. Don't worry, maid. Vlad smiled. He can't run. Chapter 155 dedicated to Enel. Is not unreasonable for Vlad to be the god of Sky Island. There is no doubt that he has very legitimate reasons. First of all, the identity of the god of Sky Island can indeed bring him a lot of convenience. It is the most legitimate act to be able to obtain the support of the entire Sky Island's human and material resources, and no one will have an opinion. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Without this level of identity, I don't know how long the renovation work of the Platinum Drager will continue. After all, why should people who are not relatives help you? The second reason, and the same important reason, is of course because Vlad had already chosen that he was a boatman who refused to board the boat. Mr. Enel, this man is extremely rebellious, not because of Vlad at all. Rad gave in violently, and has been seriously injured and unconscious by Vlad several times, but after replying, he still goes his own way and does not give Vlad face at all. It seems that the progress of pulling this man onto the boat is far away, but Vlad knows that although Enel can't be turned into a trusted partner all at once, it can still be done by letting him honestly board his own boat. Yes, this possibility is based on the name of the god of Sky Island. Dash 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 dash. In the dense forest. Bang! The pitch-black going long stick was wrapped with visible lightning and hit a huge stone directly. The hard stone shattered suddenly, and the dregs of large and small stones burst open, with a whoosh sound, hitting the ground. The power of a human body is not much less than that of a flintlock gun. The man with long earlobes didn't care at all. His eyes were calm, his body swayed in the wind like a piece of paper, perfectly avoiding all the rubble. Discharge. The man let out a low voice, and countless arcs suddenly sprang from his body, flashing in the air like a small snake, and the speed was not known how much faster than the previous gravel. The arc directly caught up with the swirling gravel, which was undoubtedly missing. Every gravel was accompanied by an arc, which turned into dust in the jumping electric light. Call. The man let out a slow sigh of relief. Clap, clap, clap. Gently applauding came from the side. Vlad walked out of the woods slowly, clapped gently, with a smile of approval on his face. Yes, God, hockey is very good at skills. Naturally, that man could not be someone else, and the man who could manipulate electricity could only be Enel, who didn't run away, but the man who was the chief designer of the reconstruction project of the Platinum D-Drag was often not at the construction site, and always came here to practice alone. But that's right, the man Vlad considered to be the choice of the boatman actually didn't know how to build ships. The Ark was also built by the magic soldiers he led. Regardless, Vlad didn't come to this man to find a really great boatman. What he saw was the man's potential strength and Sky Island's spaceship technology. The past 6 months, the reason why Enel has honestly helped Vlad build ships is not without reason. What he practiced before was the ability called hockey, which naturally can only be taught by Vlad. The purpose just to keep this guy from leaving, and to help transform the Platinum Drager by the way. The face of such temptation, Enel will not leave, of course. This man who claims to be a god can't give up such ability. It is the first time he realizes armament hockey's powerful Enel, and then he realizes that Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble Fruit, is not invincible. Yes. The power named hockey can indeed pose a great threat to him, just like Vlad. So he has no reason to reject Vlad's suggestion. For half a year, he has learned this power called hockey from Vlad's men. I have to say that Enel's talent for armament hockey is still not strong. Maybe it is similar to that of a maid. The hardening step was not completed until not long ago, and this is still a battle with Vlad every 3 to 5. Under the premise. However, in contrast, this man's talent on observation hockey can be described as horror. Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble Fruit, is really no joke about the enhancement of observation hockey. It can be seen from Enel's HeartNet come out. How many bugs are there? Another thing I have to say is that Sky Island's Shinwang is actually a little different from observation hockey. Although it is the power of listening and prediction, the difference between observation hockey is that Shinwang mainly reads the mind. Strength, judge actions through psychological inference, that is to say, as long as the other party can do nothing, or think about nothing, then the heart network will lose its function. How to say, compared with the normal observation hockey, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. Shinwang can be said to be a specialized observation hockey. The previous Enel was unpredictable for things like gravel, but now it can. Naturally, Vlad taught him orthodox observation hockey. As a god, it's a matter of course. Enel accepted Vlad's compliment with a blushing face and a heartbeat. God. Hey, don't make a mistake, Mr. Enel, although I still call you a god, but now. Vlad said, the god of Sky Island is me. Hasn't your god position been taken away by me? Enel's face was visibly gloomy, and he said, the so-called god of Sky Island is just a stupid title. Only me, the god Enel, is the real god. Who? Vlad smiled. Are you joking? God, who was the person who occupied the position of the god of Sky Island before, and was content with it? Isn't it the god you are now dismissive of this position? This is what is called do you feel bad if you don't get it? It's ugly, Enel. Jealousy only makes you ugly. Vlad put his arms around his chest and said so. Yeah, ha ha ha. Jealous. You say I'm jealous. Enel laughed. I am the supreme god, how can I be jealous of you, a false god? Pseudo-god. Ah ha ha ha. It was Vlad's turn to laugh again. He laughed. Stop kidding, Enel, the god that everyone in Sky Island now recognizes as me. I'm the only god here, and you, Enel, is there anyone who thinks you are a god? You are the only one who still believes in it, right? Kara. Crackling. Enel gritted his teeth, his body flashed with electric lights, and he was extremely angry, but he did not have any words to refute Vlad's words. Vlad was not wrong. Ever since he was defeated by Vlad, the title of god has been gone. He went. By the way, Enel. Vlad smiled, I'm about to set sail, and the ship is almost remodeled, so there's no reason to stay here. Enel Vivi was startled. Vlad smiled unfriendly. I'm going to take the location of the god of Sky Island. Chapter 156 Set sail again. Hey, Gon, 4, is it okay to leave the rest to you? Vlad was lying on the side of the Super, Platinum, Drager, and said to the former god of Sky Island, Gon, 4, on the ground below, when I'm not here, Sky Island will be handed over to you, okay? The old man must do his best to maintain the tranquility of Sky Island. Gon, 4 is not surprised. Vlad and his gang are pirates. This is something that has been known for a long time. The old man who dealt with the Roger pirates more than 20 years ago is naturally knowing what the so-called pirates look like. These most free guys on the sea are never willing to stay in one place all the time. Www. That's why he doesn't disagree with Vlad becoming the god of Sky Island. Anyway, this god won't stay on Sky Island for too long. There is something irreparably bad about Sky Island, and it turns out he was right. That's good, don't when I come back, this place has been completely destroyed. Vlad smiled, isn't it a bad thing if such a beautiful place is gone? Then, God Island and Going Bell are up to you, Shandia. Vlad shouted to the other side, yes. Give me your life to protect them. The man named Wapa nodded. Vlad didn't need to speak about such a thing at all. They would do it themselves. Shandia's treasure had already been lost once, and they definitely didn't want to lose it a second time. The life of the gambling family must also be absolutely done. Okay, then we're ready to sail. Vlad turned around, looked at his 3 companions, and smiled like this. Just sailing like this? The chef asked with some doubts, wait for Enel. Wait. Maid said with a sneer, that man never thought of getting on our ship, and he was able to help us build the ship only because the captain taught him hockey. That arrogant guy is probably still doing the captain to retake Sky Island after he left. God's sweet dreams. E.H. The musician Serena said with a somewhat embarrassed expression, I think Mr. Enel is very nice and easy to get along with. It's not like Miss BBY5 said. I don't know why, in the past 6 months, among the members of the Fire Dragon Pirates, the one with the best relationship with Enel is not Vlad, who often meets and fights, but Seely, who has been traveling around on Sky Island, fascinated by the scenery. Nah, this curious woman is not at all afraid of Enel's strange temper and powerful strength. Instead, she is favored by Enel because of her easily excitable and admirable character. Don't worry, he will come. Vlad looked at the clear sky and said, I have something here that he can't give up. Oh, I hope so. The maid snorted coldly, took a cigarette, and walked into the cabin. Then, the Fire Dragon Pirates set sail. Vlad sat cross-legged on his royal faucet, and shouted happily, he has been on this Sky Island for half a year, and he can't wait. The most magnificent era is very near, and Vlad seems to be able to touch such a monstrous wave just by reaching out his hand. He can't wait. Ohm. A low sound came from both sides of the ship at the same time, and nearly 100 huge propellers protruded from the hull. The strong power provided by the cook was transmitted to these propellers through a complex transmission device. The propeller began to rotate, and a strong lift was generated here, and the huge pirate ship began to lift off slowly. Ah ha ha ha. Excellent. Platinum, Drager, you are the best pirate ship in the world. The land of Sky Island farther and farther, excited. Mr. Captain, is Mr. God really coming? Serena asked. She and Enel have a good relationship, and she still hopes that the other party can get on this ship. What will it be? Vlad didn't look back. Isn't he already here? Crack. Before Vlad could finish speaking, a bolt of lightning pierced the sky and landed on the platinum dragger in an instant. It did not cause any damage to Vlad's precious ship. It instantly transformed into the image of a man, naturally. No one else, only Enel. Mr. Enel, that's great, you're here too. Serena looked very excited. She leaned over to Enel's side, staring eyes activated. With Mr. Enel as a reliable partner, there will be no problem in any trouble. Enel smiled. He couldn't deal with such a woman. God, Enel likes to be flattered, and it just so happened that Serena was very good at flattering. You seem to have long decided that I would come. Enel crossed his arms and looked at the man sitting on the bow of the boat without looking back. I don't know what to expect. Vlad replied, I'm just taking a gamble. Bet. What? Enel replied. It's just a gamble. Vlad jumped off the bow and confronted Enel, smiling, bet how much you value the title of God. The second reason why Vlad wants to be the god of Sky Island. This Enel has a mysterious obsession with the title of God. It can be seen from the conversation between the two that this man cares about God very much. After being taken away from the position of God by Vlad half a year ago, regardless of the difference in strength between the two sides, he tried to regain this position several times. Of course, the result could only be returned with serious injuries. It was only after Vlad promised that as long as he helped transform the platinum D-Drag, he would teach him hockey, who could make him stronger, but it was only a little. Hockey made a little progress. Enel had begun to have the idea of defeating Vlad to regain the divine position, or he had never given up such an idea at all, and of course he ended up being hammered. Yeah, ha ha ha. So you're going to eat me? Enel laughed, a little unwilling. It turned out that Vlad bet right. The title of God has a special meaning for Enel, so sure that I will get on your ship because I want to take back the title of God. Enel, your dream is to go to infinity, right? Vlad did not answer Enel's question, but asked. How do you know? Enel's pupils shrank and asked. You who live on Sky Island, of course, yearn for land. Even if you are a god who occupies the island of God, of course, such a narrow land cannot satisfy God's appetite. Vlad said, so you will yearn for the ancestral land of the Sky Island people, and the moon on the infinite land is also very natural. What on earth are you trying to say? Enel said emotionally, as a god, he doesn't like the feeling of being seen through by others. But Enel. Vlad looked at Enel with a very excited expression on his face. Have you ever seen the sea? The real, endless, rippling, beautiful sea. Do you want to see it? Chapter 157 On stage. Platinum, Drag, and the Fire Dragon Pirates finally made a huge breakthrough in the personnel organization, and finally broke through from the embarrassing situation of 4 people to 5 people, which can be regarded as taking shape. The huge pirate ship was gliding above the sky. Nearly 100 propellers were spinning quietly without making a lot of noise. The ship didn't fly high, just a few hundred meters above the sea. The sea is unobstructed. Is this the sea? Enel stood blankly on the side of the ship, watching the blue sea under the blue sky, and he didn't know where it was spreading. His mind was blank, and he couldn't remember anything. This is the sea. Vlad stood aside and smiled, the greatest being in the world. Yeah, ha ha ha. Enel burst out laughing. Is this a pirate? Guys galloping on a sea like this? Yes, this is a pirate. Vlad replied, a bunch of arrogant people trying to conquer the sea. Are you too? Enel gave Vlad a sideways look. Did you go to sea to conquer this sea? Who knows? Vlad laughed. For what? Wealth, power, beauty, or freedom? Vlad's mouth twitched. What is it? Don't be too complacent, Fire Dragon. Enel leaned on the side of the boat. His tone was not very friendly. I didn't intend to give in to you like this. When I defeat you and regain the throne of God. Enel's eyes gleamed fiercely. I will kill you without hesitation. I will not be indecisive like you and let my opponent die. PFF tilde. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad burst out laughing. It's better not to dream about it, there won't be such a day. God, wouldn't it be good to be my partner honestly? Partner. Humph. Enel sneered and said, God doesn't need any companions. As a god, I only need me alone. Don't get me wrong, Hulong, I didn't treat you as a partner. Enel said, my destination has always been infinity and that will never change. I'm still on this ship because I want to ascend to infinity as a god. Enel was a little emotional. I'm only on this ship because of this. Quote. Vlad looked at Enel. This guy is also a person with a story. Yes, if there is no special story, I am afraid that no one would want to run to that moon that no one knows what it is like. Don't talk too soon, Enel. Vlad turned his head to look at the skyline that seemed to be in the sky, and smiled. On this sea, no one will be alone. Even you, even the lonely god you call yourself, will meet like-minded partners. How can such a big sea be alone all the time? Isn't that too lonely? Vlad's air is mellow. HMPH, say what you want. Flash of lightning, Enel disappeared from the deck. Well, what a tough guy. Vlad scratched his head, looking a little distressed. Although he was on the boat, he didn't know how long he would have to wait to make this guy a qualified partner. Would you like to? Vlad looked up. Do you really want to go and see the moon? Moon. The chef stepped out of the cabin, holding a food tray in his hand, with a cup of shaved ice on it. A touch of cool air slid from it, exuding a slight sweet fragrance. Captain, did you talk about the moon again? Well, the moon. Vlad's eyes lit up. He took the shaved ice from the chef's hand, and he couldn't wait to take a big mouthful. Hey tilde it's so icy. Vlad felt a little uncomfortable covering his cheeks, and his teeth hurt a little. I said it long ago, Captain. Holding the plate in his hand, the chef said helplessly, it's better to eat less desserts, but it's not good for your teeth. Look, it's tooth decay. How is it possible? Vlad smiled, his face was pale, and cold sweat began to flow down his forehead. How could it be? How could dessert be harmful to the human body? Impossible. It doesn't exist. Besides, I don't like desserts either, so why is there a problem? Vlad's mouth was as stubborn as ever, and the corner of his mouth forced a smile. No problem. Look. Vlad picked up a large spoonful of shaved ice and put it in his mouth. Ah. It hurts. Vlad's scream resounded through the sky. Dash 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 dash. It hurts. Vlad lay on a deck chair on the deck, screaming like a pig. Come on, Captain, the cavity has been pulled out. Jingle. The chef threw a tooth with a large hole on the plate, and saw the captain who was still screaming in agony and said with a smile, drink more milk later, the tooth will grow soon. By the way, Captain, do you want to see this decayed tooth? The maid put her hands around her chest and showed a pleasant smile. This is the culprit that made you suffer so much. Don't. Vlad didn't open his eyes. He casually burned the decayed tooth into nothingness. No one has been able to make me suffer like this for a long time. The tooth decay is so terrifying. Mr. Captain, are you all right? Serena looked at Vlad a little worriedly. The chef's gesture just now seemed to slash Vlad's mouth. It's all right. Vlad twitched his mouth, feeling great. Chef, where's the shaved ice just now? Don't waste it. The chef was speechless. Stupid. Aft, Enel was half lying on the deck, basking in the sun by the cabin, eyes closed, muttered. Then, Captain. The chef looked at his captain who had just pulled out his teeth and started to feast on a cup of ice cream. He didn't know what to say. Should he say that he was really a persistent man? As the next target determined to be East Blue? The chef asked, with a look of nostalgia in his eyes. Yes, East Blue. Vlad did not rest in his mouth. The cup of shaved ice had melted, which made him feel very resentful. For the time being, there is no need to find a partner. Enel's combat power is basically enough. Next, it's time for us, the Fire Dragon Pirates, to enter the world stage. Vlad was holding a spoon in his mouth, but his eyes were emitting a strange light. It's time to do something big that the world can hear. I've waited so long. Vlad stood up, his body extremely majestic. They've been impatient for a long time. The world should let us stir things up. Chapter 158 Cross the Windless Belt. East Blue is recognized as the weakest sea area in the world. Of course, this is for pirates. Here, if the bounty can exceed 10 million pirates, it can be regarded as a rare existence. It can be called a shabby amount of money, but in this sea area, you can completely call yourself a big WWN. It can also be seen from the side that Marine only has stricter supervision on this ocean, and the remaining 3 oceans are completely incomparable to such strength, and it is not known how much looser. This is also natural, although East Blue is indeed called the weakest sea now, but in fact, 20 years ago, there was a man who started from East Blue, with his extraordinary spirit and otherworldly power to capture the greatest title in the world. This person will be none other than One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger. When the man who single-handedly created the era of the great pirates died, he also strengthened the government and Marine's vigilance against East Blue. It is extraordinary to walk out of the sea area of One Piece King of Pirates. It turns out they were right, and a little over a year later, a boy in a straw hat started his sailing career from here, constantly going towards the One Piece King of Pirates position. It is such a magical sea. Vlad's voyage this time is aimed at it. Of course, he is not for sightseeing, but East Blue has something that can make him tempted. East Blue directly from the Great Route. The Great Route and the Four Seas have always been in a state of isolation. If you want to pass through, you must pass through the windless belt. For ordinary pirates, such behavior is undoubtedly courting death, and even an adventure on a great route is far less scary than passing through such a short sea area. The windless belt, as the name implies, is a sea area without wind. It is distributed on both sides of the great route that surrounds the world like a belt. It is a terrifying sea area for pirates to hear the wind. Sailboat weeping. What's more terrifying is that this is still the lair of sea kings. From small sea kings the size of warships to super large sea kings that are comparable to an island. For passing ships, this is undoubtedly a nightmare-like existence. Not everyone has the strength to take out the giant sea kings that come before the ship is killed. Marine technology has made great progress in recent years. The bottom of the ship built by Seastone can exude the breath of the sea, and to a large extent can realize the stealth of warships in the eyes of sea kings. Even so, marine warships that dare to sail in this sea area. The casualty rate is also high. It is extremely difficult to go from the Four Seas to the Great Sea Route. Many pirate groups have already lost their troops in Upside Down Mountain, but it is even more a nightmare to go from the Great Sea Route to the Four Seas. That kind of thing, the experience is bound to be unforgettable. Yes, it will be remembered for a lifetime. Wow. That's great. The woman named Serena laughed and looked at the huge monster head on the sea below. She looked up to the sky in confusion, as if she didn't understand why such a big ship could fly in the sky. Is this a sea king? It's so big. It's huge. Serena was amazed again and again. Such a body shape can indeed be regarded as a miracle of the world, and it is such a great ocean that gives birth to such a miraculous life. The Fire Dragon Pirates, the target is East Blue, are on their way to East Blue, and they are currently above the windless zone. The other pirates are afraid of the seas. For the Fire Dragon, who owns the flying pirate ship Platinum, drag for the pirate group, they come and go like a resort. Those sea kings can't fly and bite, right? Such an experience is indeed a lifelong experience to be remembered, a travel experience. Are these things called sea kings? Enel, who has always regarded himself as a god, forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart. With a light expression on his face, he said lightly, "Really, this body type really lives up to such a title." "What is this?" Vlad smiled. "Does this count as a big deal?" God, you are still short-sighted after all. Then we go to Fishman Island, where the Sea Kings are truly amazing. Vlad smiled. Of course, he would not give up the treasure of Fishman Island. As a person aiming for One Piece, King of Pirates, there is no doubt that he will meet the monsters of the New World and those who are the best in the future. The men who fought against each other in evil times, Vlad believed that the more power in his hands, the better. OC, but more miraculous than you can imagine, God. Vlad never forgot to kidnap Comrade Enel who wanted to go to the moon. Sail on this sea, you will see more incredible magic. Humph. Enel snorted coldly and disappeared as a flash of lightning. Vlad's education career still has a long way to go. Then, Mr. Captain. The chef leaned against the door of the cabin and asked softly, how do we get started when we get to East Blue? Action. Vlad turned his head and smiled and said, no, don't worry, chef, it's not so urgent yet. We can talk about the action later. Before that, I still have 2 places I want to see. 2 places. Chef looked a little surprised. Captain, didn't you say that time waits for no one? Why do you want to? Well. Vlad smiled, it's a normal thing, as long as pirates don't want to miss those 2 places. One of them is a place that fascinates me, but I've wanted to take a look for a long time. Now, when it comes to East Blue, there is no reason not to go there and take a good look even if the time is tight. Captain. The chef understood what Vlad said. Captain, you're right, as long as you're a pirate, you'll want to go there and have a good look. Really, is it? Vlad smiled happily, like a 2-meter-3 child. Only, Captain, where is the other place you speak of? The chef naturally knew what place Vlad wanted to see, but where was the other place? The other one. Vlad blinked and said, of course, the other one is of course Logatown. It's also a place I really want to see. The chef is already fascinated. Isn't Logatown the one you want to go to most? This captain is really a man who surprises people all the time. Chapter 159 Island of Beginning and End. Logatown is a legendary island in East Blue, and it is of the same significance to both pirates and marine. In this regard, it is difficult to find a place comparable to it in the entire East Blue. For marine, this is the last barrier guarding the entrance to the upside-down mountain. In this era of the great pirates, marine's troops can be said to be stretched against the endless stream of pirates. They can destroy some people who dare to go to the great route in this place. The pirate is completely a surefire thing for marine. For pirates, this island has a greater responsibility. 20 years ago, One Piece, King of Pirates, ended his magnificent life here. In the town where he was born, the place where the adventure begins, here is the island of the beginning and the end, and here is the opening location of the Great Pirate Age. The execution stand of One Piece, King of Pirates, is located here. The residents of Logatown have always lived a very peaceful life. The marine commanders who have been qualified to be stationed in Logatown in the past 2 decades are all exceptionally powerful masters. The government attaches great importance to this place, and the pirates want to be reckless here, different from looking for death. This situation is even more obvious after the arrival of Colonel Marine named Smoker. This man has the power to easily suppress all pirates in East Blue. Logia's smoke fruit is as powerful as no solution even in paradise, let alone it was in a sea area with 2 or 3 big cats and kittens like East Blue. Even the pirates who had never seen devil fruits encountered Logia, and I am afraid there is no other way to go. The public security situation in Logatown can be said to be among the best in the entire East Blue. The popularity of Smoker has overwhelmed the pirates in the entire East Blue. However, something unexpected happened today. Hey, what is that? On the port of Logatown, an old man who was fishing stared blankly at the sky in the distance. The fishing rod that was usually precious in his hand had been dragged away by the tenacious sea fish without noticing it. Gudong, ha 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 ha, I must have read it wrong. The old man laughed and shook his head. I must have read it wrong. How could there be a ship that could fly in the sky? Impossible, impossible, how could such a thing happen? Sure enough, I'm old, and hallucinations appear. The old man stared blankly at the big ship in the sky getting closer and closer, and a few gradually flew over the port. It's a ship. A big ship flying in the sky. He wasn't the only one who saw this ship. There was no reason for the people around him to not notice the big ship suspended in the sky. It was really conspicuous. How is that possible? There is actually a ship that can fly into the sky. It is no wonder that these people are not surprised. As far as the shipbuilding industry is concerned, the craftsmanship of the One Piece King of Pirates world may be at the level of the 17th and 18th centuries in the world of Vlad's previous life. At first glance, I can see the black technology of the future world. Not surprised that there is a ghost. That's it, the pirate flag. Some people have sharp eyes. Although the platinum drag is still dozens of meters away from the ground, they still see the pirate flag hanging high and fluttering in the wind. It is a flag they have never seen before, isn't it? The pirate flag belonging to East Blue. It's a pirate ship. Someone shouted, "It's a pirate. The pirates have invaded." No need for any reason, the residents of the port began to disperse quickly. Whether it is justice or not, whether it is really heinous or not, as long as it is a pirate, it will naturally make the civilians feel afraid. This is the reality of this world, pirates, after all, a group of thieves. Go and inform Mr. Smoker that there is a pirate invasion. At times like this, Marine will be the support of the people, and the righteous Marine will maintain justice after all. Hey, Captain, those guys down there seem to be afraid of us. The maid drank a cigarette, put her hands around her chest, and smiled. It's ridiculous, like an ant. Isn't this nonsense? Vlad's eyes in observation hockey activated at the same time, scanning the town. We are pirates, pirates. Do these ordinary people have a good impression of pirates? HMPH, stupid guys exist everywhere. Enel, who was crunching and chewing an apple in his hand without the slightest demeanor. Well, it doesn't matter. How do these guys see us? Vlad smiled. It's you, Enel. Are you interested in this place too? Well, Mr. God is very interested. Enel didn't answer, but Serena on the side spoke excitedly. He was very interested when I told him the story of Logatown yesterday, especially the story of One Piece King of Pirates. I'm very curious. Said I really wanted to see what the man called the king would look like. How could a god be interested in a mortal? Enel was almost stuck by Apple, and he threw such a sentence coldly, turned into an electric light, got off the boat, and fled into Logatown. What happened to Mr. God? Serena was a little bewildered. I'm not interested, but I'm actually very curious. Vlad smiled. That's natural, but Enel has never been on Sky Island. Chef walked out of the cabin with a smile. It's normal to be curious about a world so different from Sky Island. Hey, God! Vlad shouted down. Come back early. Don't forget to come back for dinner. Just like his mother, the electric light that Vlad could see with the naked eye was very abrupt and smashed directly into a private house. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad laughed, and then his eyes narrowed, and the high platform in the distance had come into his eyes. Next. Dash 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 dash. Flying pirate ship. In some dimly lit rooms, a muscular man was holding 2 cigars in his mouth. His eyes twitched a little. Are you sure you didn't read it wrong? The man standing in front of him was panting and terrified. No, no, absolutely no. A very large ship, really a ship flying in the sky. It is a sea with a pirate flag that has never been seen before. Pirate ship. Flying ship. Could it be? With 2 cigars in his mouth, the shirtless man stood up abruptly. A look of surprise flashed across his face. Could it be that guy? Colonel Smoker. The man was a little surprised, and the invincible Colonel Smoker seemed a little uneasy. Well, bad luck. The white-haired man, Smoker, took the shirt and put it on, and said helplessly, is it possible to meet a guy like that? That's right, this is the end of One Piece King of Pirates. As an old rival for many years, it makes sense for that guy to come and see. Smoker walked out of the room first, his tone very firm, but but it's not so easy to admit defeat. Chapter 160 Enel's Logatown Insights. Enel is a god, omniscient, omnipotent, and invincible. Enel thought so before he met Vlad. Enel, who has ruled Sky Island for 4 years, never thought that he would have such a fiasco. On that day, the man named Vlad never thought Rad's man made him understand what is called the power beyond the gods. In Vlad's words, this is the power of a pirate. Enel Vlad, who hadn't been injured for a long time, lay in bed for 10 days after being beaten. Even thinking about such a terrifying power, he still has lingering fears. It is the real power of God. Although he is reluctant to admit it, Enel still knows it. His own strength is far less than that of the pirate Vlad who robbed him of his divine position. I have to admit that that guy is as powerful as a monster, but this guy also said that there are countless guys stronger than him in the sea. So, what kind of magic is this sea? Although Enel didn't say it, there is no doubt that he also has a strong interest in this sea. As a god, Enel is not a complacent guy. He wants to become stronger, so he does not reject Vlad's proposal and help them transform the ship, and then Vlad taught him that magical power called hockey, because God must be invincible. This is Enel's insistence. Blue Sea Enel had already made such a decision after following Vlad. He knew that Vlad wanted to recruit him. Vlad had never hidden such thoughts. The man's aura was truly amazing. Enel could not deny it. He has no ill feelings towards this guy who took away his divine position with one hand and beat himself up several times. There are always such people in the world. Just seeing him for the first time makes him feel two different things. Individuals should be friends, and Enel felt that way about Vlad. The sea is really amazing. It is the magic that Enel has never seen before, or even thought about. The endless blue ocean, I don't know where it is higher than the same cloud sea of Sky Island. It is dotted like pearls. The many islands in the sea are absolutely unimaginable treasures of Sky Island. Enel has never been so amazed, but he doesn't say it. Enel's dream is to go to infinity. This has never changed. It's his lifelong ambition, so he will build the Ark, so he will go to Vlad's ship, because the Ark has been dismantled, so he wants to only this ship can go up, and because he must board that place as a god. This is an agreed thing. Enel is very interested in the stories of heroes on the sea. When Vlad has nothing to tell Serena, he will also use the power of the heart net to eavesdrop. These fearless heroes galloping on the sea, their stories are fascinating. And what interests Enel the most is the story of a man named Roger, One Piece King of Pirates, a title that is so exciting just thinking about it. In front of him, in a sense, all the pirates are all losers, and he is the highest peak of the pirates. The weight of One Piece King of Pirates is much stronger than the god of Sky Island. Enel admits this, because the current god of Sky Island Vlad is also fighting for the position of One Piece King of Pirates right. This town, Logatown, One Piece King of Pirates, the place of birth and end, he is very interested, but he doesn't want others to know that as a god, what he wants is arrogance. However, that woman is annoying. Enel stood on the street of Logatown with a cold face, as always, shirtless, with a headscarf and no shoes on, with 4 small golden drums inlaid behind his back. Among the residents of Logatown, he stands out among the residents of Logatown. His extraordinary existence is also now. In the face of the pirate invasion, a large number of residents ran to take refuge. Otherwise, with the gold behind Enel, riots would have arisen long ago. Enel strolled on the streets of Logatown. All the residents came and went in a hurry. The news of the pirate invasion had spread all over the island, even if they were full of confidence in Smoker. But these residents don't dare to stay in place like this. After all, who knows what will happen next? Pirates are not welcome. Enel murmured that although he knew that Vlad and his gang had no interest in these civilians, they were interested in various senses. They took over Shandora's legacy on Sky Island, the rich Vlad pirates. There's no reason to be interested in these guys, but there's no reason to be afraid of pirates. Hey, boss, look, going. A voice like this came from behind. Isn't going embedded in that guy's back? NOVV Isho, is it time to pass the time? Idiot, go away, that fellow smoker should be here later. Known as the boss is a man with a green coxcomb head and a nose ring. He punched his younger brother's head fiercely, and said with hatred, if we are caught by him, it will be the end. This going is nothing. Hurried away with his little brother. NOVV was a little disappointed. He hadn't had the pleasure of crushing others for a long time, and he was beaten by Vlad recently. Hey, what are you doing here? A woman's voice came from behind, and Enel turned around in surprise. It's a woman, yes, some beautiful women with short hair, glasses, a knife in her hand, and a very serious expression. The woman said, don't go any further, ahead is where the pirates invaded, you are very dangerous in the past. Quote. Enel didn't speak. What did he say? Are you actually a pirate? Don't be funny, God. Enel doesn't admit that he has joined the team. Run. Woman glanced at Enel and hurried forward. Run as far as you want, don't come back until the battle is over. The back of the woman looks a little dashing. Plop. Enel didn't remind the woman that there was a stone in front of her, so the woman fell to the ground naturally, and the heavy dog ate shit, which is really embarrassing enough for a girl, or the guy who just finished playing handsome. In front of. Glasses. The woman's hand groped around on the ground. Enel was not looking at it, he turned his head and left. There must be something about One Piece, King of Pirates here, right? Tashigi, what are you doing? Accompanied by the sudden voice, the man's voice went from far to near. A man with 2 cigars in his mouth was sitting in a strange car and passed Enel quickly. At that moment, the two suddenly looked at each other. Is that what, Marine? Enel thought so. This guy. Smoker said to himself, not normal. Then the two walked away. Hey, Tashigi, do you still look like a Marine? Hold, sorry, Colonel Smoker. There was such a voice behind. Enel ignored it, turned and walked into an alley.